Volume's on. Okay, now we're good. Okay, so we had seen a seller sitting at this level pretty much all day after we sold and no initiated buying. This level stayed very thin the entire day. And so what it looked like is, immediately we had this liquidation overnight, this gap down. We had some selling come in, and then every time that we popped up, it was just short covering. Every time, short covering, short covering. And then finally, during this last period, we opened up, we pushed up, trapped a bunch of momentum buyers, late momentum buyers that were waiting for this breakout all day. And I guarantee, I would bet my soul that there was people that got trapped right here, because they were waiting for this fucking thing to break out. Why are they waiting for something to break out on a gap down day? Only God knows. But they got trapped here. Market moved down, and this also was a spot where people that were short all day got shook out. Their stop was there. They were like, "Oh, if we get above that, I'm gonna stop out." Right? Not understanding that in reality, because of how this thing is building up pressure, and you can kind of see the pressure built up in this like dense triangle. This was one of those times where you're gonna have to, move your stop to be a little bit more safe, right? Put it behind some volume, something like that. But anyway, so then, shook out the weekends, trapped a bunch of longs, and then spiked down to take a peek at lower prices. And so the first thing you want to do when you see something like this is you want to see, okay, well, what is lower, right? So let's do this real quick. Hide our profiles so it'll just look a little bit easier. And we'll say, what's here we go. What's down here, right? So what are we breaking with this level? Okay, so we're breaking this previous low and we're looking into value. And so where are we going into? Right into this point of control. Now, if we toss on the volume oops, wrong button. If we toss on the volume profile, I'm gonna take this off. Play ball. Go nuts. Okay, so you can see the volume point of control is right here. So this price came down right into previous value and right into high volume. Okay, and we didn't really see a strong reaction because it was the very, very end of the day, so it was kind of a tough situation. Overnight inventory was pretty much 100% short, right, for the most part, until that big CPI rip. Um, and so what's happening here, when you look at this, where is it going? It doesn't, it doesn't really make, I know that line was kind of terrible, but it doesn't really make any headway, right? We already came into this profile. It doesn't make it down past the previous low. So really it's just a bunch of people just getting short based off of the news. Oh, Marcin, what's up? Hit it with the first like. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Um, it's basically just late shorts. And I almost put this in the report that I wasn't going to be surprised if there was a bounce, but I didn't want to try to convince you guys to be bullish. There was going to be some kind of craziness. But I mean, they do this with the CPI report every time. CPI report is terrible. Market goes up. What a shock. Welcome back to 2020. But so with all of this trapped, and then the CPI report came out negative, but basically what everyone's doing is kind of discounting the CPI report and saying this is going to be the highest CPI report. So next month, the CPI report is going to be lower, and then the one after that is going to be lower, and they're discounting it, right? I'm not sold on it. I really think this is just short covering. And probably from where these single prints are at, right? But so we have overnight inventory, and we can kind of zoom back in. We have overnight inventory, which is 100% for the most part, because here's the settle. We had a little bit above. It kind of hung out right here until it fell off, and then it hung out down here for a little bit. You can see hung out down here for a little bit, and then started coming up. And then hung out in the same exact spot, and then right here was the CPI report, and it just went, it just went straight up. And so for the most part, I would say inventory is 100% net short, but you already have a correction of overnight inventory with this CPI report, right? The CPI report comes all the way up and takes out the previous day's high. Okay, so that's just something important to note, that that high, um, it's just basically giving you a wash with overnight inventory. So on the open, we're not really looking for a correction at that point. I'm not. Oops, what the. And then go to the current profile. And with the current profile, volume back on. Okay, and so for here, you can see, like, pretty much we haven't really made much headway, right? So we're still inside this previous day's range. So we got above it, and we've seen this two TPOs above it, but B period wasn't able to come across above the Globe XI. And now we're just kind of trading inside. B period is still inside A period. A period was pretty wild, and it was mostly just due because of the kind of the craziness of the CPI. So the best thing, what I'm doing right now is just kind of waiting. Morning, Caesar. Just waiting until we get kind of a decision from what people are feeling, right? The Luna bounced right off that level that we were looking for yesterday. Loop trading. Almost down to our 31.9, but I never got an alert. And if I had to say what the profile is looking like right now, it's starting to look like a P-shaped profile. Okay, but this is just 2 sessions. So a lot of this is probably just shorts covering here. Some of these questions real quick. Did I catch that move up? Yeah, most of it. So, well, not most of it, I guess. Probably like a third of it. Nothing insane. Enough to just go back to sleep after. Um, does that sharp triangle in the profile represent both trap buyers and sellers? Um, no, not necessarily. You have to gotta zoom out on it. It's tough when it looks like this. Really, what it's just representing is just tight value. So the market's only valuing price right here. So these are extremes, right? These are excess, but they're extreme excess. So if you remember from the boot camp, we talked about a neutral extreme day where we had this kind of big response from both sides. And that's kind of what happens is people are only liking price here. And anytime price went down, well, price went down at the end of the day, it was a spike, but anytime price went up or started up, we had sellers come in to push price back down. And anytime it came up, buying shut off and it came back down into value. And anytime it got low, you had short covering. There's no way to know for sure if it's actually short covering or if it's buying, right? I just assume that it's short covering. So it could have been buying and sellers both getting trapped, but that's not what I take from it. Typically it's tough to see if both buyers and sellers are getting trapped. Maybe if this was single TPOs to the upside, I would think, okay, yeah, sellers are probably getting trapped as well. But because it was a double TPO to the upside, I I think it was a seller because B period yesterday, if you remember, actually tried to give some life, and a seller came in and just smacked it back down, which is where this chunk of volume was at. And that's the level that we were talking about. I want to wait to get above this level, at least above the open, but really above this level to get long. Um, because that's what I wanted to see buyers, you know, show their life that they were actually in the market to compete. And that's an interesting thing too that I talked about yesterday in the trade view. If you guys read it, was how the auction works, right? Sometimes in an auction process, the price has to auction higher for you to become interested, right? So when I've talked about this in a sense of an auction, like a linear auction, a one-way auction, where you're sitting in the crowd and the auctioneer starts auctioning off a Michael Jordan basketball, right? And you say, okay, how much is going to start at? We'll just hypothetically say $100. No one's really raising their hands, okay? Auctioneer says, do I hear 90? No one raises their hands. Do I hear 85? Boom, someone sticks their paddle up. Okay, I got 85, I got 85. Do I got 90? Do I got 90? It says 90. Okay, 90. Do I got 100? Someone puts their paddle up. Got 100. Okay, I got 100. 110. Do I got 110? 110. Someone's paddle up. 130, 140, 150. And now you're thinking to yourself, like, well, shit, that 100 wasn't such a bad idea. But I wasn't really interested in it originally at 100. Now that it's at 120, I'm kind of interested. And it's the same way in an auction, right? Because you've got to think about buyers, big money buyers and big money sellers, because that's who we're trying to trade with. Is, are they going to be looking to buy in that chop zone from yesterday, right? This area that had just, completely in volume here, right? Are they going to be buying that? Probably not. And not probably, obviously not, because they haven't done it all day. So why would I be the, innovator and try to get in there? Yeah, sometimes, sometimes you just want to be the innovator. I want to create electricity and I want to get in there. That's just not how I trade, right? Some people do. That's great. I trade, to make to make an income, not to make it, um not to gamble. That's more of a gamble. And yeah, it could repay, but the trade, the trade, if you waited till up here, this open popped up above here, no volume built, and then boom, popped up. You've got 50 to 66. That's a decent amount of, if you can collect 5 points in there, then you should be good to go. But Curtis, I said he could have waffles. Um, you know what I mean? And so sometimes you have to wait, even if you want to be a buyer, you have to wait for price to get higher. So not necessarily, you know, um, not necessarily you're gonna be want to just be buying the dip sometimes. Sometimes price has to go up or sometimes price has to go down to interest you, right? Like, so even right now it's selling. I don't really want to be selling until I get below this chunk of volume, because look what happened overnight. Came right back down, filled in this volume, and then came back up. Right? Oh, it actually opened up right here and then popped up. Rechecked this downside volume and then popped up. Morning Trin, morning Adam, Peter, Dad, Double R. Morning, good morning. So with the CPI report that came out this morning as well, we had Bitcoin's getting cut. All right. With that CPI report that came out, it was the worst CPI report ever, but people are adjusting it because the big issue with it was the increase in car prices. Um, what was it? Those cars and food that were elevated the most, and that's kind of what caused the CPI report to be uh, elevated. Good volume of good volume. Oh, you're talking about this right here? This just looks like buying off half back. That's a chunk of volume right there. Is that 10,000? I can't really tell. Yeah, it's 10,000. It's 10,000. It looks yeah, I don't know. I don't like this level. I don't like this area, right? This is an area where we got a little bit of support yesterday. For me, I want to wait until we get back outside of yesterday's range, because now that we're inside yesterday's range, we're two TPOs inside yesterday's range. We opened up inside yesterday's range. That pretty much gives us you know, 3 points right there that's going to tell us that today is going to be a choppy and probably rotational day, especially after that CPI report. Everyone's just coming out to digest it. So what I would do right now, and I know it seems kind of like, well, what the fuck? Why do we gotta wait? But until either the A high or the A low gets broken, I won't take a trade. I'll just sit here and watch. The tempo does seem bearish. I do agree with that. It does look like the downside is coming, and especially if we get below. I mean, really, that 4444, right? That's been our level. We've watched this level act as support, act as resistance, anywhere from this like 4444 to like 50, the 40 open, right? The 38 yesterday, like everywhere around this area has just been an area that we've seen reactions off of. So there's no reason to not just wait since we're right here and get the reaction and then try to trade off of the reaction, right? If we miss it because the reaction is too fast, then that's what happens, right? That happens all the time. So foaming at the mouth to jump in. Yeah, I mean that's normal. It's normal. But yeah, I mean you've really got to morning Patrick, you've really got to focus on something that Jim Dalton really drove home for me. He was always saying you have to let the trade come to you, right? So think about the next trade that you want to go to, and this is where what quietly. This is where you have to get in that mode where you're thinking, okay, what's the next thing that I want to do? So then you start looking at some of these reference points. Okay, the open. Do I want to trade the open? We've got a lot of volume down there. It could act as support. That 4440 level. You know, if we get a bounce off the open, that's going to kind of tell us that these shorter term time frame traders are present at the open, and that makes the open a weak play, right? And then we have all this volume at the bottom, which is probably where we'll see a little bit of support. But this, you know, here comes C period. This could easily just be uh backfilling, right? You got really thin volume because the market opened and just went like this. Um, and so I'm just looking at I'm looking at a candlestick chart because I was asleep. I didn't wake up till like 6:39, but the A period came down and then just went straight up. But for here, I mean, we're looking at this and we're thinking to ourselves like, okay, where's the next best trade, right? And so the next best trade, we look to yesterday and see where all the value is at. Okay, so all the value is down here. So as price rotates back into value, do we get do we get responsive buying from people that valued price here yesterday? Because there was buyers here yesterday, right? The sellers were just a bit more active and were able to probe price down, but the buyers were active here yesterday. And this is normal because this is that 30 to 24 level that we talked about. And you can see that big chunk of volume that came right there. Funny that that guy got filled on that way up. Dog. Um, and so we wait for price to come down here, wait to see if responsive buying is going to show up. And so what that's going to look like, it's going to kind of change the tempo. You can see the tempo is kind of slowing, but if price gets down in here, we'll start to see these moves up, and then these, you know, maybe liquidations if we're trapping some sellers that happen quick and then retrace quickly. And I actually thought about this, a way that I can explain it that will actually make sense. Um, I don't want to get rid of the ES, but we're just going to move this for a second. Okay, so think about it like this for a second. And this is going to be from a manufacturing or a bigger name perspective. So we're going to talk about, oh, um, we're going to talk about computer monitors, right? You're in the market to buy a computer monitor, okay? And this is you. And this is the manufacturer up here, and he has, you know, just dozens of monitors, hundreds, you know. And there's a bunch of people like you that are looking to buy your computer monitor at 500 bucks or below. Okay. This guy sells his monitors for 1,000 bucks or above, right? And eventually, consistently, people come in, they're like, yeah, this thing's never going to come down. I'm just going to snag it. Boom. Okay. That eliminates this buyer, right? And then eventually, this guy maybe drops down to 950. This guy jumps in, he raises it back up to 1,000. He keeps raising it up. Some of these buyers keep moving up, keep moving up. And he's selling them for 1,200, selling it for like 1,350, selling it for 750, right? He's selling it for everything except for what you're looking to pay for it, right? Which is your $500. Well, eventually he's going to be getting new inventory, right? That's a mechanical low, guys, right off the open. And so eventually it's gonna be coming to that time where his new inventory is going to be getting in, and if he hasn't sold off all of his inventory, Casa Bundy on Twitch, thank you for the follow. If he hasn't got rid of all this inventory, what does he need to do? Well, he needs to get rid of it, right? He needs to get rid of it. So let's say he has a couple of these left. Well, he has to liquidate, right? Because he paid, let's say he paid 500 for it, right? Let's say he paid 500 each for these monitors, and that's what you're looking to buy. So, but you don't know what he got them for. You're just looking to buy them because that's what a fair price is to you. And so what happens is he starts to liquidate all of these. And so any buyer that's in the market, you're looking to buy at 500, there's a buyer at 750, there's a buyer at 800, there's a buyer at 975. What he does is he moves down and boom, 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 liquidates all of his inventory, right? And you see it pop back down. But what's still the fair market value for these monitors, right? We probably say 750 to 1350 based off of our little story that we just made up. So what does this look like on the market? On the market, it looks like this. It looks like balance, right? He's selling this all for balance. And then boom. And this is where he got rid of all of that. And so what do we call this? Excess, right? Excess inventory. So that's where he gets rid of his excess inventory. He just jams it all out. I got to get rid of that because it's just not gonna. I got to get a new inventory. So boom, just fucking marks it down. Right? It's the same idea. Um, if this does this resonate? Are you starting to understand the auction process a little bit deeper? Right? And this is from a dealer perspective, which is the sell side of the market, right? The market maker side. The people that are mainly just filling orders. And so when we see excess like that, or when we see excess on our profile, um, bigger. When we see excess on the profile like this, and then all of a sudden, we're like, oh shit, everything. I mean, we got terrible news all day yesterday. I mean, there's a big offer. 45 looks like a spot. If they hold this above 45, it could go back up. Um, those big buyers keep coming in on that 45. I don't know. I don't really like this up here, to be honest with you. Um, so when we have this and what seems like this massive selling, it easily could just be this guy here who's been accumulating, right? He's been selling TVs up here all day, right? And now it's coming towards the end of the day. He got a couple interested. He got to sell some, he sold some for 1,500 bucks for some suckers, some impatient suckers that wanted to jump up. Like, fuck, I need the monitor. It's gonna go up to 1,600, 1,700, 2 grand. I need it now. They buy it here, and then he just is like, boom, and then just liquidated their asses, right? Just liquidated all of the TVs that he's been accumulating all day, or the computer monitors that he's been accumulating all day, and gets out of them, right? And then, he'll do the next thing the next day, and it makes sense because it's the end of the day. So he starts selling. After we break the low, you get a bunch of momentum traders right here. See this? All of a sudden, some fat chunk of volume comes in. Surprise, surprise. Bunch of momentum traders just pile on late. And then you just have this volume down here is just the close. He's doing his last transactions. He's at the farmer's market, or the TV market, and he's like, you know, he's like, all right, I got one for 400. Who wants that one? Someone's like, oh, I'll take it for 400. He's like, all right, I got another one for 400 too. And somebody jumps up, and everyone's trying to fill because they see that the monitors are marked down, and then they can only buy monitors until the supply runs out, right? Once the supply runs out, once he runs out of monitors, well, he's got to go get more, and he's not going to buy them down here because he knows these people waited all day, and people bought them yesterday at this price, so that's where he wants to sell them. Why would he sell them low when he could sell them high? Price moves up. And it works similarly on the downside as well. And that's the complicated thing really. Yeah, see, I didn't like it up there. It looks like shit. Um it's it's a complicated system or complicated situation because you have to think about it in as an auction. When you think about an auction, you think like, okay, auction's over, I win. TV is mine. But what happens is in the market, you waited and you got your TV for 500. Now a different auction now you become the auctioneer, right? And you're like, hey, do I hear 550? Do I hear five? Okay, price is moving up. 600. Someone want it for okay, 700. Okay, 800, right? And you're like, okay, shit. They were selling them at 1,000. I got them at a deal at 500. Is 800 enough for me? Shit, I'll sell it. Boom, and you sell it, right? So at the end of every auction, that's why we call this a two-way auction process. At the end of every auction, another auction starts instantly. That's how this two-way auction works, is it auctions up until all of the buyers are exhausted, and then it auctions down until all of the sellers are exhausted, right? And that's a common misconception as well. If you haven't uh if you haven't read that 6-part market profile study guide, come on. That was like a year ago I said to read that. Um read it. It's the most boring thing you'll ever read, but it's the most useful thing you'll ever read. Maybe that with Jim Dalton's books. Crypto Mojo, what's up, man? Um, but when you're looking at a situation like that, the market will auction up, and when it moves up, it's not moving up because more buyers are coming in, which does happen. More buyers do come in, but what's happening is the market is moving up to get demand to stop, to get the buyers to stop buying, right? And then it starts auctioning down. So you get this price, and that's how value is formed, right? So if we draw our extremes, 500 and 1,000, and these are our computer monitors, that's how we get our profile, right? Because 500 seemed like an unfair low for people to sell, right? If you're a seller in this market and you're selling monitors at $500, there's good odds that you could be selling the low, right? People like monitors for $500 because it's cheap. People don't like monitors for $1,000 because they're expensive. So that's going to be our extreme. This is where buyers say, "Oh, I don't want to buy that." So where's the most fair price? That's in here around this, 750 or whatever price this is, right? We're using imagination right now, anyways. But this is where value is being built, and that's how value is formed on a two-way auction process. I'm just gonna clip this and put it in the boot camp. That was really good. But does that help? I mean, I've been practicing that since yesterday when I thought of it, because I wanted to explain it really well. And so I hope that helps you guys understand the auction process, because I really think that's what most people struggle with. And I think most people struggle with the auction process in the market. They just don't understand it, because they don't understand that that's what the market is just a two-way auction. And so once you start to understand that, then all of a sudden the market you'll just be like, holy shit, I understand. Like it's like fucking Neo just sits up from the chair and he's like, I know kung fu, and there it is. And it's so simple, but it's like, because of human nature and human psychology, we just fight the urge or the nature to understand something so simple because we just think it cannot be that simple, when in reality it is, right? There's professional traders out there that trade with the fucking COT report and open interest, and that's it, right? I mean, talk about not having much information, but that's all the information, right? Because that shows you the commitment of traders, and it shows you how many people are actually interested in the market, right? It's not as useful on futures because you don't get that open interest at the end of every day. It's only once a week and it's delayed. But when it comes to stocks and stuff, you can get that open interest every single day. 488 contracts trading that low. They're selling this low pretty hard, and it hasn't broken yet. 1,635 contracts trading on the low. That study guide here, I'll pull it up. There's some crazy shit going on in New York City too. So they're saying that it might have been a terrorist attack. So that's something to look out for. There goes that low.
Let me see.
Um, with Jim's books, because he remade Mind Over Markets, um, I would
When?
I would still,
Must be postponed.
I don't know. Can we say false flag for real, Kevin? Um, I don't know. I don't know which book. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Because they're very similar. I would say pick up uh it's so tough. It depends what version of Mind Over Markets you get. Um you should get the new one because it's updated. But I mean you could read them both. It's not really gonna matter. As long as you have a decent grasp on the concept of the profile, everything will be explained. And does a good job. Really good job. Probably the best job. Jim is really good at just helping you understand things from a different perspective. But yeah, that study guide, and then a lot of these other books. My dad can attest to this too, like Thinking Fast and Slow, um, Thinking in Bets, what's it, Atomic Habits. Right, there's a bunch of books um, that are not really have anything to do with trading, but because they have to do with human psychology and why people do the things that they do. And we're in the business of, basically human emotion is what trades the market and what moves the market, right? As we saw with the CPI report, fucking 50-point rip based off of a terrible CPI report. That's human emotion. There's not going to be algos that are saying, "Oh, if this thing comes out shitty, well then I'll just buy it," right? An algo's not going to do that. And what happened it's simple at a simple auction, right? A simple, just like we talked about. Whereas when this thing opened up and it opened up here, report came out and it was terrible, but somebody was bidding $100 in this auction, right? They're like Michael Jordan basketball. Who wants Michael Jordan basketball? But this time in the auction, somebody put their paddle up instantly, right? They're like, I'll take it for 100. And someone's like, no, 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 I want it. 110, 20, 30, 40, boom. And then it just fucking, I mean, look at the volume. You've got 139, 134, 183, 240. I mean, you could just, I mean, look at this right here. These are double digits. You could feel the emotion in the market right here, but just by looking at it and how fast these people were shooting paddles up to be able to buy. And there happened to be one seller here probably who just hates his fucking life. And some big size was like, thank you, and just scooped his ass up. Or it could have been somebody short from yesterday that was just like, oh shit, let me get out of the way, and was able to just jump out of the way. Um, and so you got to think about this. So who's absorbing all of this, right? If everybody's buying, I'm buying, you're buying, fucking hedge funds are buying, all of that, Who's selling? Well, those are the dealers, right? The dealers, the market makers, those are the people selling. So what do they have to do after the emotion wears off, right? It up, drives it up. After the emotion wears off, what do they got to do? They got to get rid of some of this excess inventory. They just absorbed a fuckload of inventory, right? They just sold TVs all the way from fucking 44.21 all the way up to 44.67. So where's their average? You try to think, right? Oh, their average is probably like around here. To look at the volume, this is probably where their average is at. And so if they can continue to keep unloading this inventory that they absorbed, perfect, because then they can get back to zero, right? And then they start the process all over again. What happens is a lot of times, and that's why we get some things like this spike, is that they accumulate too much inventory and they have to blow it off, and then boom. And that's why a lot of people get caught in situations like this, right? You see this white candlestick, it breaks down here. We know it's just a correction of all these people short, right? All these people are short from here. Oops. Oh, fuck. I forgot I can't do this. Regret trading. Um, you've got all these people short. What is this wick? And then the green pops back up. Well, it's because they have to get rid of some of this inventory to rebalance their books. Right now, they can start selling again. People want to buy, they can start selling again. Comes down, and what they're doing, right? If they've accumulated all this size, look at the volume. Sometimes they have to chase. Sometimes the market makers have to chase in order to get rid of some of these positions. They're not worried because as long as there's buyers down here, they bought the TVs up here and they're or sold the TVs up here and they'll buy them back from down here. They bring it back to correct their book, right? So like if if we get all this selling, right, and let's say the market maker was absorbing on this downside, okay? And because that's normally what they do, they're normally buying on the down, selling on the up. Market that they're dealers. That's what people do. They're trading the opposite of the human emotions. And so, in order, if they're buying all of this, right? And so here, and now these sellers want to start buying it back. Well, they're trying to get it to a point where they can, get back to net even. So they drop it, and you see a bunch of people panic, right? All of these people that were short start buying everything back, buying everything back, buying everything back. Well, they were buying everything, and where can they sell it? They start selling it down here, selling it down here. Price comes back to right where they were at, and now they're sitting neutral again, right? Does the same thing again. And that's the thing is like we think about it in like a two context a position, but in reality, we've got to think about all of the competitors. Look at that size that traded on 35. That thing goes above 35, and it looks like it might. Watch for a response here off half back, and we're getting into the value from yesterday, right? We're getting into this value from yesterday. So pay attention here for a strong reaction off the point of control. That's what we're looking for. Halfback's not really crazy, but mark the 35 level on your chart. If we get above this 35, there's a lot of volume on that 35. There could be a reaction, but this could just be, like I said, them coming down and selling that inventory. So with other money. Yeah, double R. Yeah, and that's with everything, right? Nobody buys anything in the market with the intention to um, sell it for less, but sometimes they have to. That's the thing, and that's just the same thing in any market. It's just, I mean, using a TV, we look at TVs as things. Here we go back to that 35. We take right above it. Don't. Um, watch this 35. We keep buffering it. 38 was that next level up where they offered it. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring this thing back up to the open and sell it off again. So be careful. They might sell it off from here. Back below 35 isn't going to be looking great either. Like to see buyers start stepping up to buy it at this 35 level if they're going to hold it. But like, the difference is in the market compared to a TV monitor, let's say, over time, this this monitor will devalue, right? But with a futures contract, it only devalues based off, I mean, same way. It's just a futures contract typically over time is going to be higher. If you hold it for 6 months or for a year or something like that, it's typically going to be higher, right? Ask Warren Buffett. That's what investing is all about. When you buy something to invest in it, you're buying something because you think that the value is fair and that over time it's going to appreciate. Exactly. They create those zones where you know uh competitors or consumers can come in and value their price, right? So imagine if we're moving down on something and they're buying this all in, right? They start selling, or they're buying, everyone else is selling, right? Panic selling. Well, they've got to. That's why we have these volume nodules, because that's what happens. They're rebalancing, rebalancing. And if we can start to understand that auction process, I just got stopped out. I took a long at that 35, and then I closed it. What did I close it at? It was, I'm not showing my one. Oh, 30. Oh no, I got long 36 quarter, so late, and then stopped out 33.50 right there. So I took a little loss. I just tried one. Um, I like this area to see if they're going to get a response. That response off half back, and then it holds twice. Wanted to give it a shot. Can't win them all. But the thing is they don't create the value. The other competitors are the ones that create the value. So just when you see these big wicks, a lot of times it's because what they're doing is dropping their price, right? So they sold all of this, right, and then started buying it all back. Well, the market started getting here like this, and uh I mean, you see, people are probably still selling. Well, actually, I mean, honestly, probably people are buying here, but people are selling, let's say. And then as we drop, they start to buy. And then we get down here, and this value is formed by people coming in and saying, oh, okay, this is a fair price, I'll buy here. And so then they start selling, right? All of the shit that they just bought, they just start selling it. And then when you have, these wicks that move, that's what happens is they're they're driving price to a certain direction, where we're creating these extremes where people are either willing to pay less or not willing to pay more in order for, look at it, starts to go up now, piece of shit. um you see them get rid of some of that inventory, or kind of blow it off, right? So they drop the price, they give you that Kmart blue light special, and everyone runs in. And if they've already unloaded, let's say, they've already unloaded most of their most of the shit they bought, they've sold it, right? And then all of a sudden they mark price down for cheap. That's that blue light special is just hitting on, and then people are like, fuck, I need that. Boom, boom, boom. They buy it, buy it. And then that drives the price back up. And now they're able to sell it for more, right? But they were trying to get rid of some of this excess inventory that they accumulated. So they basically mark it down to you know, to get people interested. And what this does, that gets people interested, brings them back up into kind of, a little temporary value, and people start to buy in here. And so they're able to sell at a fair price because they bought all this shit up here. They're able to sell at a fair price. But I mean, the market maker's job is not necessarily um not necessarily a +1 -1 game, right? You've got to think about that. They're not sitting here looking to make money or break even or anything like that. They're looking to facilitate trades. Well, yeah, I mean they just yeah, that's what they do. They base it off of the book, off of the resting order. So that's the thing is as a market maker, you get to see, well, we get to see too the resting orders. And so they can see like where most of the supply or demand is sitting at, and based off of their position and based off of how competitive buyers and sellers are being close to price, they can, start to create a value area. So if we're sitting here, we're kind of seeing volume get a little bit heavy down here now. It's not looking as good. But we're seeing price move down, and you're seeing activity, right? So let's say we move down here and we don't get volume come in this time, right? This time it just comes down, volume stays pretty weak. Well, the market's not going to hang out down here forever because they're not getting the activity that they need. They need this activity. So they bring price back up to where the value has been formed, right? Because value is based off of time, but also based off of volume, right? If we spend a lot of time somewhere and there's not a lot of volume, well, that's not really going to be a very accepted price. Now we're opening up a third TPO, actually a fourth TPO inside yesterday's range, and we are one time framing down now from the A period. More mechanical buying off that half back. The buyers on that low there. Exactly, double R. That's all their market makers are. People. That's why when people are like, "Oh, market makers are fucking me over," blah blah blah. Market makers are just facilitating trade. They're just the opposite side of your trade, right? Because if not, imagine the liquidity if the market maker wasn't there, right? Imagine if I wanted to buy a TV at $500 and Bearish Bull wanted to sell it at 750, and we were like, I'm not fucking, that's it. I'm buying it at 500. So you're going to either come down here to sell it to me or you're going to hold that fucking TV forever, right? The market would just go like this. We'd be, ace, what's this called? Is that asystole, right? But the market maker wants to see that heartbeat of the market. And the only way to get it is to facilitate. Back above that 35. This time we're getting a little bit of speed here. Poor low, mechanical low, weak low. I mean, just doesn't get any worse than that low there. But I mean, yesterday we saw, or just 2 days ago, we saw a poor low pretty much hold like all day until the very end of the day too. So got this reoffer area 38. I don't know. I feel like it might go up, guys. I have this weird feeling here. It looks like buyers are stepping up. I just can't tell if it's a lot of short covering or what, but it does look like it wants to pop. See if we can get back above the open. Target above the open is going to be that um, that C half or the C high. And then I mean you have this chunk of volume 1600 right here. That's a fat chunk of volume. And a big chunk comes down below, and now we're above it too. So interesting day today. The volume is pretty high as well. If we're looking at volume, um, trade here.
Okay.
The fuck? Volume is 794,000, right? So we're 800,000 already for the day. So not too bad. Take a peek at the flex grid here. And I added this new thing. I found this thing called high and low graph, and it just basically tells me was the last bar uh was the last bar green or red, and this is a 30-minute calculation. That way I don't have to click to every chart. So genius. But we can see pretty much everything's looking green except for information technology, healthcare, and consumer staples. But we look over, our big Apple, big guy, doing pretty good. And this is something that I actually talked to about I talked to it yesterday, my wife about it. But when we're looking at Apple, and this is kind of why I thought the market was going to bounce today. And you can see where my alert's at, because if we got below there, I wanted to look at some possible shorts. But with Apple being, kind of the biggest leader, you see where Apple's coming down to, and this is yesterday, this red bar coming down. You see all of these previous auctions ending at this area. So this is obviously a spot that the auctions, that something changes in the market, and so it makes sense for Apple to bounce from there. Right. And I kind of saw this in a lot of things. No, not Microsoft. What was the other one? Tesla. Tesla looked the same way. Tesla had this kind of gap down yesterday, but it was coming right to the edge of a lot of these auctions, and it bounced today. It looks like it tried to fill that gap. It's not doing a great job. Um, and then Nvidia was another one that's just been getting hammered. That so this is something that we've been tracking for a long time, and we were tracking a trend line from here, right, originally, until we had this breakout from this day, and now we're coming right back down and testing that level. Oh, shocking? Probably not. But I'm the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's not time to sell the farm yet, right? These things are still respecting trend. We still are in an overall uptrend, and this could have just been a capture. And a lot of times you have these huge rallies in bear markets, right? This they call it the bear market bounce or whatever, but a lot of times we have that. What's the setup? What do you mean? What setup, bearish for?
That would be.
Oh, my Thinkorswim? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can post. Back down to that 35 again. Key here is gonna be watch Apple, see if we get weakness out of Apple. A little bit of selling coming in on Apple right now. But we just got that new deal. We're about 7 minutes. Yeah, no problem. The buyers tried that upside. They're still, I mean, they're still trying the upside. It looked like we had a little bit of a response off that 39. Above the goal here, you know, immediate goal here would be for buyers to push it back up to the open. And it kind of just looked like they front ran that open, to be honest. What was that? 44.40 they sold it off of? Yeah, so the open. Yeah, so I would say that's a mechanical high. So we have mechanical highs, mechanical lows, weak lows as well.
Show me your mind.
I'm gonna go use the bathroom real quick. I'm gonna share my sound because I'm playing music while we're gone. This is a song by Josh Answers that I really like. I listen to it like every day before I start trading. Seeing them hold this low for the most part. All right, I'll be right back.
Show me your mind. I got options, bitch. Talking like Honda, right to got some shit. I'ma get pushing cars on all my stocks. I has my shit vested in everything from value tested dividends. Living in houses in the hills, my life is different. Businesses I've been doing that since I was little, yeah. Bigger. Little, yeah, bigger than that. I'm doing the same thing on the biggest scale. Listen here, I can make $1 million anywhere. This ain't fair. I don't show my face cause I am everywhere. Let me in. You don't gotta like me, but the message ill. This is real. Never make investments based on how you feel. Pick a field, but you cannot quit it till you get a deal. Need a will, otherwise you'll waste your time just spinning wheels. I do this opposite shit. They thought it was easy, like I got here without reading, like I didn't give up sleeping. Tell me what the fuck's a weekend. Tell me what the fuck's your reason for this dream you keep on dreaming. It's gonna leave if you don't lead it, huh? Got $1 in a dream, I need a couple cents. I'ma go and sell some preem, pay my mama's rent. But I bought that shit, watch me call the top and shit. I'm confident the cycle ends, and when it does, I'll buy the dip and then I'll get a nicer whip. The guy disliking all my vids will probably be a lot more pissed, but I'm just gonna pray he blessed. Wish I had time to hate this shit. I'm busy chasing greatnessness. I'm trading when the fade begins and selling when they don't kick it. I be talking options, I got lots of those in life. I could get you started, but I can't teach you to drive. I turn on my monitors and swear I come alive. Cash is always liquid, always dripping, never dry. I got options, bitch, talking like Honda, right there, got some shit. I'ma get pushing cars on all my stocks, I hedge my shit. Vested in everything from value tech to dividends. Living in houses in the hills, my life is different. Businesses, I've been doing that since I was little, yeah. Bigger than that, I'm doing the same thing on the biggest scale. Listen here, I could make $1 million anywhere. This ain't fair, I don't show my face cause I am everywhere. Let me in, you don't gotta like me, but the message ill. This is real, never make investments based on how you feel. Pick a field, but you gotta get it till you get a deal. This is real. Yeah, pray for all of y'all. I hope you never lose your goals. The mark is volatile, don't be afraid to take it slow. It's as it possible to make the money if you broke. And mine's the obstacle, the strangest secret that you know. Adaptable, I had to go DiCaprio, plain as the wolf, subtract the host, but add some dough. The rooster didn't come to roast, sabbatical, but back with folks, it's rapid growth. I have a coat, I have a rose, I have some homes, I have to go contractual. Selling those, but not my soul. I sell the clothes to buy some more. I'm with my bros, divide the dough, my high and low, my favorite hoe. I hit it when she drop it low. I'm never at the cop it close. Only buy options as homes. You don't got those, leave me alone.
MarketSmith by Investors Business Daily is a powerful stock research platform designed to find winning stocks before their big runs. How? First, MarketSmith gives you new stock ideas with a Growth 250 list that filters through thousands of stocks to find those with the best potential to move higher. Next, use our industry-leading stock charts to quickly review key fundamental and technical data all in one place. Then, validate your ideas with pattern recognition, which automatically draws chart patterns for you. You'll see where to buy, take profits, and minimize your losses. Plus, MarketSmith comes with a robust alerts platform to keep you up to speed on all the action. You'll get all these premium features, plus free product coaching, so you get started quickly. Try MarketSmith now and get 3 weeks for just $19.95. Succeed in the market like never before. Go to investors.com/MarketSmith now.
All right, I'm back. That was Uncle Answers from the trading fraternity. So if anyone wants to look up his music, that's him. A lot of inspirational music. I mean, he trades options, not futures. Or he does trade some futures, I guess. I know he's trading wheat futures because of all the stuff that's going on, but not really like not really like trading futures like we are. Mostly trading options. Morning, Pop. You listen to this song? What is it? Oh, Airbnb. I like this one. Let's listen to it. Yeah, I like this one. Oh fuck that. I'll find it. The music that Josh makes is just motivational. You know what I mean? It's just good. Makes you want to be a winner. You know. And Josh is the same type of person. Like he's very, he just wants people to learn and win. This is off his new album too, Big Squeeze. Look at the market getting back up to that open. Remember we said it's a mechanical high. Holy, on my wrist. Grab that. Yeah, but I don't want to. Baby, I don't even need to add that. Getting she pretty, I don't even need to ask back. Okay. I need mash kit.
Pull it to the villa, got these motherfuckers counting. Pulling up the line, so got it looking like a million. Remember when I put them on the motherfuckers daddy? But it's some more fighty, I don't give a fuck about it. I'm still in the game like a screaming athlete. Got a little fame, but it ain't changed nothing about me. Nah, same OJ, you smoke more J, still make dumb plays, but I play less games. Always ready for the war, I ain't playing campaign, but I really need a reason for I pop champagne. Proper for the fall, so I gotta stay safe. Lot of money on the table, boy, that look like bait. I'ma think it before I get it, boy, that look like fate. Either way the story goes, don't I love that fate. Had these motherfuckers hated me before they love me. Now they selling half and they ain't playing with their money. I told them take a tent and pay yourself, cause that's your money. Put me on the bench, cause I ain't playing with you dummies. They ain't gave us nothing, even if they did, no, I wouldn't take it from them. They was took a shit, but we still try to love them. Got so many wins that I can trip about a fully on my wrist.
So if we don't pop the open here, guys, it's basically just an accumulation here above the or below the open by sellers. It looks like we want to pop it with the interest that's coming in, but it's looking like buyers are struggling, to be honest. Yeah, that's a good one. He has a lot of good ones. Holy. Yeah, Josh is awesome. Yeah, I love Josh, to be honest. Josh is another one of those guys that like I really like his style because he doesn't do like a lot of classes and stuff, but he's just like come in, join, and he's just so fucking smart, and he's all self-taught, right? He wasn't a trader on the floor. He's actually pretty young. I think he's like 28. He just taught himself. He reads a lot. He was going to school for political science and actually dropped out. He's an immigrant. Well, his parents are immigrants. A lot of people think he's white, but he's actually Egyptian. I mean, the poor low's holding for now. I think that what's happening here is we're just getting kind of an accumulation of volume. I'd like to start seeing, keep seeing this volume form. As long as we hang out above this level, I like it. I think that the open is probably gonna get popped. Um, it's just like it's just like one of those situations where you you have to kind of take into account um like so we like a long from here, right? But we have to understand that poor low is still there, so we've got to be cautious. So if we start to see the market pick up to the downside, then we've got to be thinking, okay, I need to climb out of some of this. Here we go. Finally, I've been waiting for that thing to fucking go up for like 10 minutes, I feel like at least. So remember, we had that 35 level, which was the initial offer, and then we had that 38, 39 level, where sellers try to get busy again, and now we're above it. We're starting to see volume form up above. I mean, the interesting thing about this half back is so close to the point of control. I mean, look at this. You could see this. I mean, these are all 9 and 10, so a lot of high volume, uh, and the the TPOC and the VPOC both here. And that's kind of the response we're seeing. And so what's going to tell me that this is probably going to hold is if yesterday's high gets taken. Do I think it's going to happen in one fail swoop? The odds are not great. But that was a nice little trade there, right? I mean, it's still going, but it was a nice little trade there. You should be looking to cover some. Um, you probably should have covered a little bit above the open, but looking to cover the rest up here or some up here up at the this high volume nodule at the 4450, which is our level that we talked about being above to be comfortable for longs. And so what we've seen is I wanted to see us get above, hold above here to look for a long, right? We came below it. We came above it, but we didn't hold it. And we came back below it and we got a bunch of volume. So that's telling me that if we get above this volume and we start to see some initiated buyers come in, there's good odds that we can take this upside. But there's also, at least for right now, because we don't have the information, there's just as good odds that the sellers come back in the same spot and resell. And so it's a reoffer, and then they just push price back down, right? Or buyers just don't step in, don't buy it because of all the supply, and then the market rotates back down as well. Look, we're right back at that 4444 level. And we've seen this level be a gigantic level lately. So this is a place where, and you can see them offering that 4.5 right here. And so this is a spot right here that, if you are long, not a bad time to, take some size off. And then if you want to add, maybe just add on a pullback, right? And as long as we stay above, I mean, really, as long as we stay above the open or really 39, then the upside continues. You're just getting, people selling a little bit up here. And it honestly could just be people taking profit too. You could just be having a bunch of people just limit orders, just trying to get filled, trying to get filled, trying to get filled.
Hey, Brad, on that way up where that 16,000 volume level is,
Mm-hmm.
on A, when I was watching it when it came up, and it was a big seller trying to hold it down. They had like 9,000, 10,000 orders, like they absorbed a shitload
Right.
before it popped, and then it popped. Do you think like because it felt like one big seller was a big part of that chunk, and then it eventually came down? Is that them trying to keep it now below there, or was that because they got their head ripped off earlier? Does that mean anything different? Because I mean, I was watching that thing. It just kept building, 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 and then eventually they finally broke. But it went from like 2,000 contracts to 9,000 contracts in like 35 seconds.
I think I think it was probably a combination of both. Like as soon as it started to build, you saw a bunch of other people start to pile onto it, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's a big seller. Let's sell, 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 sell." And then, people will do that. If you're a big seller, no matter how much you sell, 17 points is not going to break your bank. You know what I mean? But if you're a mechanical seller, or if you're a smaller trader, 17 points is probably going to stop you out. So what happens here is this guy holds, 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 gets enough people to sell, right? Because if he wants to sell, he needs price to go up, because he wants to sell from higher, obviously, too. So he's selling, 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 and it probably a combination of all this shit that he bought early here. But once he sees that buyers are going to run through it, then he just continues to sell all of this. Eventually, buyers run out and exhaust, and then price trades back down. And then that's why I'm thinking this is probably this guy covering his short. That's just kind of what I'm thinking, and the reason, um, early on the profile was starting to form this P shape in during B session. We had kind of like a P shape like this, and that's kind of what it looked like. It looked like that he was just slowly covering this short on this way down. So he started to just, after this thing popped, he started just to kind of buy it back, buy it back, buy it back, and then when it got towards yesterday's value, he really started buying it back, and we kind of seen this pop. um, it, oops, and it looked like a lot of people were trying late to sell yesterday's value, or to buy yesterday's value as well. Just a matter of who was right. But I mean, it's so hard for me to know something like that. So I don't want to give you like a hypothetical answer, because I honestly don't know. And I was asleep. I woke up early to trade the CPI report and then fell asleep, and I didn't get up to like 6:39, so I uh didn't really get to see that part.
I gotcha. Yeah, because
That's my bad.
they were definitely piling on right there. It happened pretty early, and then it burst right afterwards. I was watching it going, "They gonna really hold this?" And the answer was no. You know,
And a lot of times you'll see that it's interesting. I mean, it's really interesting that it traded that high of volume, um, right away like that. I mean, that's just a big increase, um, comparatively to, I mean, to basically, I mean, you're looking at the rest of this. You've got like 1,000 lots, 2,000 lots, but all of a sudden we had like a 16,000 lot order.
yeah. If you
Kind of
look at it,
crazy.
on the order flow, it was 9,284 on the sell before it gave out, or it was close to that before it gave out.
The 50.
Yeah, from the A period.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. And if we get above it, you can see this, selling right off of it again, that high volume node. If we get above it, which is looking like it's looking like they're reoffering that 50. They're trying to reoffer that 50 here. Yeah, I mean, it's tough off the, especially off of the CPI report too, because it could have just been, this accumulation of buyers overnight selling everything they had, as much as inventory as they could sell right here. And then eventually, once they had sold all their inventory, they gave up on price. Like, they were out, so it didn't really matter. I miss
It was
that's a
just
lot of. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
no, it was just interesting. I hadn't really ever seen it pile in that like kind of watching it live right there.
Starting to get a little bit more selling here. Seems pretty much. Seems like they don't have any weight really. And a lot of times when something like this happens too, if we think about it more of like an auction perspective, um, as this market is ripping up, right? The dealer is selling it. This could have been that spot where they're like, all right, this is our spot. Let's just sell the 44.50. See how many people we can get to buy this, right? And a lot. And then as the market rips up, and they do this in a sense, thinking, okay, we'll get a bunch of people long right here, right? And when price goes up, you'll have a bunch of people start panicking into the long, thinking, oh shit. And especially when it breaks the prior day high, they start panicking in. And you could see the chunk of volume that came out above it. So people did start to buy initiatively in above yesterday's value and start to buy, and they're just soaking all that up. They're like, oh sure, sell, 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 sell. And then as price goes back down, then they start to cover up their position. And so I think maybe this D period, even though we are have a cessation of one time framing, is a lot of short covering coming in here. And that's kind of, because we have that poor low, that's what makes me think that. And so it just makes me more cautious when I'm in this long trade, looking to, if we start to build some tempo to the downside, or if I start to see some longs liquidate, I'm going to be more inclined to hit the flat button than to just be patient and try to wait for my stop to get. It is starting to get a lot more thin though as day kicks on. So let's get after it. I like it. And so let's do this real quick too. Is this the daily? This is a daily. Okay. So I'm gonna do me some RTH. Okay. So ES on the daily, what do we have here? Remember we applied our spike rules. Right, spike was way down here. We're obviously above that. We have, did we fill this gap? Let me look real quick if we filled the gap. We didn't fill the gap. There's still went up to 66 and the gap fills 68.75, it looks like. But we didn't fill the gap yet. So we have a 3-day balance, right? Inside this previous 3-day balance, we've had a look below and we're getting back above. That line is the 4444. And so what we're looking for is acceptance on the daily. And so this is, intraday is how we're playing, but we've got to still be, eyes open about this level, because above this level looks good for longs. Below this level doesn't look good for longs, right? It looks better for shorts, because it's a breakout of balance. And on the daily, the only way that we're going to see it, acceptance or failure, is going to be at the end of the day, right? How the day closes. But knowing this level is going to help you kind of stay on the right path of the market, right? I mean, even though we did get long, I got long on that second try. I got stopped out on the first one, long the second try, 38.75. This time I took 3 lots and I've got one left. Closed one out at 4444 and then closed the other one out at 4449.75, and then we'll see if we can get this last one up here, get to that 69. Looks like the area. Maybe 89. Maybe we get back up to that 200. That would make sense. I'll hold it for 89. But so we see we're playing a daily balance rules on an intraday trading, and we're also playing spike on intraday trading. So you have to learn how to kind of put these pieces together and make sure that you pay attention throughout the day, that you don't forget that, right? Because sometimes on a pullback, right, let's say this thing gets back below 4444, which is here, and we see a chunk of volume that came in above it, right? It's smart. And really that 4444 to the open today probably looks like the target. But below that, you're thinking like, oh, there's big volume here, let me buy this. And if you're not realizing that, one, we're below that balance, that 3-day balance, and so more time spent down here, that's showing value is going to be moving down. And then also the poor low and outside of balance. It looks like we're getting so far. Watch that prior day high. There's a bunch of selling off that prior day high as well. Kevin, did you end up trading Luna yesterday?
Um,
Because it came right down to our spot that we were talking about.
um, yeah, I ended up getting out of that at around 81. I shorted that
Oh, okay.
and did pretty good. I didn't have a ton into it, but it ended up being pretty good.
Nice.
Did you trade it all?
I took a long off of that low, well, off of our level.
From what, the 83?
It was like 82. It was 82,470.
No, and then how high?
I don't know where it closed at. I had it set up automatically. It was it was a it was more just like a position that I was willing to sit in for a couple of days because I think that Luna
Uh,
is gonna continue.
yeah, it's scary to sit in that for a few days though because it's so. I mean, any news that comes out with Quando, whatever his name is, or anything, and so I don't know.
Well, it
So
already
like wait it
covered
out, kind of do it,
it already covered some, and then the rest I'll just
let it go,
see. Yeah,
let your runners run,
yeah.
let it be free and wild.
Because you never know, Luna like, I mean, all of a sudden could just wake up and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna go to 100 right
or
now.
or or, or 2 or 300.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, but also it can go back down to set because 74 I think is the next one down without it because there's not a lot of resistance between.
Yeah, there's not below this 82. Yeah, down to like 75. 630 is where I drew. Yeah, there's not really much down here. Yeah,
Yeah,
that one
that'd
concept
be a great
buy.
short though if that happens too.
Yeah, to
We
trade
got a
it down to there.
little powder waiting for that to happen. So that's my plan. Yeah, that's gonna be and Luna Trade's good. It keeps right with its levels and doesn't have a ton of wicks. It doesn't jump around a whole bunch. It's actually a really good one.
Yeah, I like trading that one, and there's a lot of liquidity too, so it's not really
Right.
like, well, I'm trading it on Bybit, but on Bybit I don't really have a lot of issues that I have on some of those other smaller coins.
Yeah, I'm on my way with that one too, and it's got a ton of volume, so it's good. It's good, and it's got which I haven't done a
Ooh,
deep
whew,
dive.
little
I've
liquidation
actually,
there. Keep going, Kevin.
I was actually going to talk to you about because I had done some just basic math on doing the inverse perpetuals, and
Hmm.
I don't know. I thought that they were the greatest thing on earth, but then I went back and I'd done math and thought that actually it doesn't you don't make as much. It seems like um, the profit margin. If you go back and you do the same exact trade, but you do it using USTD or vice versa. So have you worked with the inverse perpetuals?
Um.
You get you bit with the token instead of
Uh. n-
USTD.
No, I used to do that when I was on Binance. But I was mostly just doing it with Bitcoin because I was buying Bitcoins and then, but that was mostly like I wasn't really leverage trading. I was just buying Bitcoins and then holding them for like a while and then selling them. But it's I've always, since I've been on Bybit, traded the USDT. Just easier to me because you don't have to, switch over. When you trade those perpetuals, you're like, okay, I want to trade ETH, but I don't have any ETH, and so it's like, seems like a pain in the ass.
No, you're right. But I just thought it was good because like as the market's going up, you're making the money on the token, but then you're also getting the token. So you know what I mean. So you're getting more
Double.
token and yeah. So that's kind of how I viewed it. But I'm not sure. And I haven't found anybody that really going into it, in detail. So I don't know if anybody else on the stream here has worked with them or not.
Well, it just kind of it works the opposite way though. Also, when you're going down, you're like losing
Yeah,
double.
Yeah, you want to do. I figured you want to do USTD when if you're short.
If you're short, yeah, that's probably a better idea. That's actually not a bad idea, honestly. Like looking for it to go along, and especially if you're trading, similar products all the time. Like if you're trading ETH, Bitcoin, and Luna, you only have to keep a couple coins in your wallet, and you're chilling. That's not a bad idea at all.
Like, yep. What's going on in New York? I haven't had a chance to look at that yet.
There was. Here, I'll pull up the new.
Kevin, I don't know if you were talking about like the fees and all the different like stuff you can get charged on the trades or whatever, but I have a calculator on my YouTube channel that you can download for free, where you just enter in your trade size, and it gives you like all the numbers automatically. Like if you limit in, limit out, if you limit in, market out, if you market it in, limit it out, like does all the math for you.
Really? Do a quick one on the. Well, Bybit has a calculator too. It kind of sucks. You have to be almost in the trade to use it, though. Um,
Yeah, this all you got to do is type in, like, hey, I'm putting $5,000 in or whatever, and it'll do all the math for you.
post it up. But and it'll tell you can do a difference between the inverse and this regular. The inverse
Yeah,
perpetual and the regular.
yeah, you just put your trade size in, and because the fees are the same, and it'll automatically calculate the maker and taker fees and everything for you.
So notice here, guys, on the ES, how when this ETH session came up, we didn't get really an increase in volume, right? It's still pretty thin volume, and then people re-shorted off of that half back. This is like I was saying, I think that this was mostly short covering this D and E as people got a little bit too short. And this is probably where they tried to pile on to the short for whatever reason, because we got below the open. Honestly, that's probably why they tried to pile on the short. Fuckers. Hopefully they covered, but we see kind of exhaustion up here so far. 12 contracts traded on the top. That's not great for buying. If we look at comparative, comparative to yesterday, right? We can see not a lot of buying happened up here either. Right? I'm not really putting too much weight on the Globex, but not a lot of buying happened up here yesterday either, and so you can see this 52 to 44, 47 is an area where sellers got busy and pushed the market down yesterday, and it's kind of happening again today, right? So I thought that was a little bit of short covering. Be interesting to see how it trades through this weak volume. So as we come back down, what the fuck? As we come back down, when we trade into this weak volume, if you start to see buyers step up and buy it above the open, and this thing starts to fill in, well, then that's going to be good news. Good news that we saw the point of control shift up. It's just that we're below it now, right? So we'd like to get above this point of control and start to fill this in and attack some of this weak volume up here. But if we come back down and hit this weak volume and just trade right through it, there's going to be, your sign like, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Right, we don't want to be. This is a kind of your no zone. This that 4444 to 4440. Right, an area that we looked at 4444 to cover. So if we were looking to get out of a position there, we definitely don't want to be getting in a position. That's probably the highest risk position. And if we look at value area high from yesterday, it's 4441, which happens to be 4440. But here's that thing. I mean, there's some videos. At least 16 injured in the subway shootings in Sunset Park in Brooklyn. There was someone with a gun wearing a gas mask. Manhunt is now underway. Let's look at that dog. Belgian Malinois. Can't get away from one of those. Not only are they fast as fuck, but they can jump high as fuck too.
Yeah, I'm here with Yahya Ibrahim, and you were here. You said you work in the area, and what made you come out and say, "Hey, something's going on this morning"?
Because I saw a lot of people coming out of the train station. One of them was injured. I believe it was a lady getting shot right on her leg, and a lot of people was coming out from side to side, screaming, yelling, asking for help.
Yeah. Well, did you see any smoke or anything like that?
Oh, no smoke at all.
All right, and the people were, tell me their emotional manner. Were they just
Angry, upset. One of the ladies was crying, asking for help, and people would shout out like, "Call the cops!"
Yeah.
It was like that's people was upset and angry and mad.
Yeah, and the lady you said that was injured, she had been shot. Tell me about where she was shot and what she looked like.
She was shot. Right.
People
yeah,
just.
it was like I was afraid. Like who?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a crazy situation going on in New York too, so that's something to monitor. They were saying that it is a possible
Alpine X made 110 on its very first day trading. Daniel has been
terrorist
winning for
attack.
30 days straight trading.
What's up, guys?
Here's TJ's video
With
too.
another crypto video, and in today's video, tackling a huge subject that people always talk
And
about.
here's the calculator.
Fees,
I'll post this.
specifically for Bybit. So I'm gonna walk you guys through what the fees look like, and I've put together a sweet calculator.
So TJ does a lot of stuff on his channel, guys. You should and he does a lot on there. If you get a chance to check it out, definitely check it out. But here's the link to his calendar. So, I mean, he's got a lot on here on his channel. If you just look at his channel, he's easy to listen to. Some people on YouTube are just hard to listen to. TJ explains stuff really well, so don't want to get in the way of Molly on numbers. I always have like people. I guess people are different, but I'm always like, man, that motherfucker would try that shit when I'm around. I'll blast this full. But then, I also think like I don't want my kids to be there because I don't want to, accidental stray bullet to hit one of my kids or my wife. Then I'll be pissed and have to like, it won't just be shooting the bad guy. It'll be, fucking invading him. Gerard Butler. And it was a few days there. We're talking about the NY 12th April attack. Oh yeah, I remember there was another attack in April too. So look, we came back up there to that high volume. We keep kind of smacking it here. Buyers are really trying, it looks like. And it looks like, sellers are trying to hold the 50. And you can just see how quick they're giving up that low, right? And I know it feels kind of it probably doesn't feel as dramatic on a 2-tick chart. And that's actually probably better. We can see the VIX is down about 7% today too. Oil's up 6.5%, back up above $100 right now, almost up 7% now. We're starting to see some of the big tech start to fade a little bit, starting to look a little bit red. But I mean, in reality, as long as we're above this 4444, I'd really like to see us get above this 50, and this could be a spot where buyers come in and we can continue this upside. Sellers might have realized that it's just Oh, is there a little shout out to the trade vets? Oh. Actually, I've seen that video before. How old is that video? I saw that video when you first posted it, because I was looking at that calculator. That video was like from last year, I think, right?
Yeah. A lot of people were commenting saying the fees had changed, so I updated the links, updated the calculator to like the new fees, and then added like a funding fee calculator in there too.
Oh, okay, cool. And then who was it? Someone in the Discord gave out their code or whatever, and that offers cheaper fees too when you sign up with somebody else's code. Because I think I signed up with someone else's code originally as well.
One thing that I didn't realize until I was updating that calculator and adding in the funding fee portion was that if you're on the opposite side of the market, then you actually get a credit every 8 hours for holding your trade. So like,
Oh yeah.
if the is like 1% or whatever, if it's a positive number, then anytime you're short, you actually get a credit. Or if it's a negative funding fee, anytime you're long, you actually get a credit instead of being charged a fee. So I thought that was interesting.
What will be nice to well, I guess nice and bad, I guess, but for those that like trading crypto, when they start getting more products out, when the CME starts coming out, or the CBOT, maybe CME, probably CME product, when they start coming out with like more liquidity for like the micro Bitcoin futures, and then they bring in like Ethereum and start to bring in some of the other coins, that will be the key, I think, and that's kind of why. Let me show you guys something real quick. So this is the page I go to, CME market. I just type in CME and then go to the E-mini S&P, click on settlements. I go to this page every day to find out where the settle was at, according to the CME. Everyone should probably do the same. But if we go here and we look at these CME products, there's all of. So they're offering these new cryptocurrency products, right? So we've got Bitcoin futures, micro, ETH futures, but they're offering these micro cryptocurrency futures that are coming. You can see live April 25th when they're supposed to come out. And oh, here we go. So you can see, look at, you got ETH, Algo, BCH, ADA, Matic, DOT, LTC, Atom, Link, Sol, XLM, Uni, and then ETHUSD, the New York rate. And so all of these coins, to me, if they're going to offer them through the CME, must have. Market's pushing down now. Watch this area. This is an area that we were looking for, right? Looking to see if these buyers are going to come in, because this would be initiated buying. So we're above yesterday's value area, right? So if this starts to fill in with volume, it's going to be buyers in initiated buying jumping in, right? Or just sellers not being able to sell. So we've got to pay attention here. But with these coming out, it's these coins that are catching my eye, right? I can post this the link to this page too if people are in it. I think you're right. I think that was the chart champions. But if the CME is starting to advertise these coins, that means these coins are probably having the most liquidity and therefore probably have the best future, at least in my opinion. And so I've been doing some accumulating since we've been pushing down on a lot of or some of these coins because of that, right? Not anything crazy, because the market still looks pretty weak and we might get some opportunity to buy cheaper. But if the CME is going to start offering it, then there's probably good opportunity for them to make money off of it, and that means there's good opportunity for us to make money, right? Because we know how to use the profile. We see a rejection of that low volume right there. See, that comes down low volume, bounces right back up. So sellers are not really active down here. Watch that 45 level as we come down. That was an offer level on the way up that acted as resistance. We'll see if it acts as a little bit of support here. There's 45. A lot of volume through right now. You can see comparatively to yesterday, and this is just in the NYSE, not the futures, but in the NYSE, we're getting less and less volume, and we had and during C, but during D period, 9% less than yesterday. And typically, in my experience, when there's less volume, it's a little bit harder to push things down. Right? It means there's less supply. But it looks, I mean, I don't know. I think this thing looks weak, to be honest. Just looks like the buying is not as strong. But I mean, it could happen like yesterday. We kind of saw this as well, where the selling looked weak, and it took a little while for the bigger sectors to catch up, and then the market started to push down a little bit towards the end of the day. Hold inside my house. Healthcare is flipped green. So the only thing that's red still is information technology, and it's not. I mean, it's not red because we have a lot of you've got information technology that's red, but it's not in any of these big weighted sectors, right? But it's just going based off of the weight here and from the open. But the market, I mean, for the overall, the market looks fairly green except for healthcare. Healthcare is just flipping green now. At the 100. To convince me really of any upside here, I want to see the market get above 55 on this push up. If it doesn't get above 55, I think we'll probably fade back down to like 35. There's buying going on in the overall market, but we're not really getting any consistent higher highs like we saw in the open, and we are kind of starting to get lower lows. You're seeing a 500 lot order sitting on the 50 again. Let's see if we pull back down. I'm looking for either 45 on the downside or the open 40. What we get first? Obviously, we're gonna get the 44 first, but see if buyers defend either level first. Ugh. Gotta wake up. I'm gonna have to go to the store after this and get Red Bull. Finally not windy, so I can get some yard work done today. Other people don't get excited about yard work, but I do because it's relaxing. Put some headphones in, listen to a book, push a lawnmower, get a workout, right? Put some weights on the lawnmower while you're mowing the lawn, push it around.
Brad's gonna be over there pulling his lawnmower while he's push mowing the yard. like pulling the riding lawnmower while you're push mowing.
I'm gonna have to get a riding lawnmower when we move, probably. I don't know. It depends if we live on a hill or not. If we live on somewhere that's flat, then I'll just push it. I like to push the lawnmower. I've always pushed the lawnmower like my entire life. When I was a kid, when my dad first moved to Brentwood, he bought a lawnmower, and I obviously had to mow the grass. But then when I was done mowing the grass, me and my buddy would push that thing around the neighborhood, every neighborhood, and just be like, "Hey, you guys need your grass mowed? $20." People were like, "Yeah, fuck." And my buddy Joe, he had his dad had a weed whacker, so we just had like the weed whacker, and then my dad had like the edger. I don't know if you guys ever seen that machine. It's like a little wheel with like blades on it. He had the edger, so we would get there and just fucking just do a really nice job, and it was consistent cash for 8th grade. You damn Americans with your huge lawn. So this short's working out pretty decent here for now. I shorted 48.75 twice, and then I just covered one right there. 44.25. My next big profit is at 41. On there, if we can't get below 40, I want to see it get below this 45 here and stay below that 45. That was that reoffer level. If not, might have to fail on this short. As long as we stay below like 47.25, we should keep running down. Just watch for the response off that open. 45 to 47 is kind of like this back and forth there. F period opens up. Let's see what we get here. Watch this weak volume right above us. We don't even go for it. We just keep going down. So now we're looking at the 45. 45, we saw a big re-offer area level earlier, which acted as resistance. So we'll look to see if it acts as support. It's not so far. Seeing a little bit of offers come in, little bit of bids as well, but we're holding below it for now. Back above it. Got some trap sellers on the 44.50. Very clear. Watch this 42 area as we come down, right? We're coming down into this thin volume, and then we have the open right there. A little bit of mechanical buying off the ELO, so those are weak buyers. Ooh. The weak spot, 43.50. If it gets below 43.50, you might get a little bit of a spill, but they're holding it there for now. Let's see, watch this 45 and see if they reoffer. My stop's at 47.50. Oh, it does run up. It'll cover for a point in profit. I'm gonna let it sit up there. I know it's a little bit farther away from price, but I want to let it sit up there because I think, I want to give the trade an opportunity to work out here. Especially with the start of a new session. Sellers are trying.
Brad, I know you said you wanted to give your trade room to work out. So why wouldn't you just take profit now and then set an entry where you're currently have your stop loss?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I have such a good entry, and I already took profit on one of the lots that I was short. So for this one, I kind of want to just give it a chance to breathe, and if it comes back and closes me out on this one, then I'll be fine because of where my entry was at. But what happens is, like, to me it's looking kind of weak on both sides. Really, it's just looking pretty mechanical. But if it doesn't come back up to where my entry was at, then I kind of miss this move. And since I've already profited on this trade, I don't mind letting something like this work out. If I only had one lot on, yeah, I'm taking profit. I would already been out of the trade. And I think, I mean, honestly, that's a good thing that you bring up. And that's one thing that I worked with my dad on so much when he first started, is just taking that first profit, right? Whether it's, I mean, because of the range lately, you could probably push it. Normally, I like to say 2 points. You know, take your profit on that 2 points, right? Get you your $10 or your $100 if you're trading the ES, and then just be happy with that, right? If the trade works out, the trade works out. Great. Write it down. Write down that you were right. Write down that what you saw was working and it worked. But until you're consistently doing that and taking that profit on that one lot, you're not going to be wanting to let that one lot breathe, if that makes sense. You want to just get it out. But once you start adding that runner, then you can start playing a little bit of games with it. I'm trading pretty small size today. I actually had a really good day yesterday, and I only traded 12 lots. Cool. But I want to trade really light today because I didn't get to watch the open because I fell asleep. And so on days I don't really get to watch the open, I am very unsure of myself. I'm moving my stop down here to 45.50. I'm moving my take profit down here too. That buying right there seems mechanical off of that D half back.
When you had him doing an 8-point profit tick, where did you have his stop at when you were talking? Because I've had that happen a lot. I'm looking for 12 ticks, and then it's like I hit 8, and then it reverses on me, and I get back ticked a bunch. You know, just at break even pretty much. It's been driving me crazy a little bit the last couple of weeks.
I'm not sure where his stop was at, to be honest with you. I know it wasn't much because he's a pretty risk mitigated type of person. So I'm not really sure. I was just telling him, like, if you don't pay yourself, then what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Because he'd be like, I should have got this one. It came back. It got me. Kind of like what you're talking about, right? Like it hit 8 ticks, and then he moved his profit to, like, break even or something like that, or a stop loss to break even, and then it, gets to 11 ticks, and then boom, hits back, and then he breaks even on the trade when he could have had those eight ticks.
Yeah, I've been having a bit of a run of that. Like, I'm looking back through my notes in April, and it's like, how many equal signs are going to be on my on my thing? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
goddamn.
What another thing that you can do is, if you're and this is why I love trading the micros, because the micros, you're able to let the move play out a little bit more, right? If you don't have a larger account and all this margin kind of built up in there, you can, let's say you were to get looking to get long off the open. Well, where do you know you're wrong here? I mean, that's kind of a tough one. Let's find a better one. Let's say you're gonna short here at this 50, and you know that you're wrong. Honestly, you know you're wrong as soon as we get above this D high. So you put your stop up here, even if you put it at the E high. So you're looking at 5 points. Well, your target is going to be this poor low, right? To fix that, because we know this is a weak reference. So you're looking at shorting the 50 down to the 30. So there's going to be 20 points, and you're taking 5 points of risk. There's nothing wrong with that trade, right? And then if you're sitting in one micro contract, this is your target, so you're just sitting there, right? And then what you can do is you can layer in certain things, right? So you can layer in, we get your 10 points in profit. Now you bring your stop to break even, or bring it into that 8 ticks, right? So now no matter what, you're getting those 2 points, no matter what. Even if this thing just rips up and grabs you, you're gonna get your 2 points no matter what. So your target's still here, your take profit's still here, but as it keeps going down, then you can just start inching it down. And a lot of times that's what I do, is just I find liquidity to hide behind. So the reason I moved my stop loss to 45, oh shit. Ah. Oh, oof. Sorry, I had to move. I didn't think we were going to smack through the open so fast. Might take profit down a little bit. But the reason that I moved my stop to that 45.50 is because we had that big offer level there earlier. And so now what I'm looking to do is move my stop down to right above the open because we can expect those sellers to be up there. And I'm just looking to trade it to that poor low and just kind of glide it down.
Well, it's funny when I'm doing the sim, I'll do stuff like that all the time, and I'm in a kind of a. I'm sure a lot of people have gone through this too, because I opened up the Apex trading account, and it's like all of a sudden I've been like on the sim positive most days, and then when I go to the Apex, it's like then I'm negative, like all month. It's like become not all month, but I've had a ridiculous like like you're sitting there looking at it going, this is a mental issue when you're positive on the sim and negative on the live. So
you know what?
But then I do some trades like that more on the sim, like what you talked about, and then I'll never take them live for some reason because of the risk on it.
I think you are a step ahead of people that are in that same situation because you're able to realize that it is a mental issue, right? You're understanding that excuse me, when real money is on the line, it's the emotions that's pulling you out of that trade. So, I mean, honestly, I think you're a step ahead just understanding that. And then now the real goal is just to, try to use those emotions as, to your advantage, or just try to understand them. Okay, this is just the normal emotions I'm feeling. And then keep reevaluating that trade. Okay, why am I in this trade? I'm in this trade because of this. And has that changed, right? I was in this trade, like, so the reason I shorted this 48 was because, like I said, I think if we don't get above this 55, we're probably going to short. Well, F period opened and it was going straight down. I was already short, but it's like, oh, I'm good. I'm super confident in that trade that we're gonna trade down. Right now, I'm getting a little bit less confident because we had some thin volume down here that's filling in, and I'm not really a huge fan of that. The thing that's kind of holding me is this F low. I mean, I don't even know if I would say it's mechanical, but it just doesn't seem like the upside is the right side. The tempo to the downside has been a lot better today. I'm still kind of holding. Now I'm gonna move my stop to 40. 50. I might just move it to, yeah, I'm moving 40 hold for it. But once, I mean, now that you're able to really to understand that, you've just got to keep qualifying your trade as the trade goes on. You know what I mean? Like I use the car example. Like, okay, if you don't have a flat tire, then why are you pulling your car over on the freeway? That shit is dangerous. Like, and the same thing. It just comes. It's just gonna come like with it. I mean, it's just such a combination of all things, right? Because it's a combination of why you got in the trade, a combination of why you want to stay in the trade, what you're looking for in the trade as it keeps going, and then also at the same time, which is hard, you have to look at the reasons why you're not in why you shouldn't be in the trade if they start to arise, right? At this point, we're like, okay, we're below the 4444. We're below the open. We're inside yesterday's value area. We're spending a lot of time down here. If we get a VPOC shift down here, so we need 6 TPOs. We need to spend a little bit more time back down here. But if we spend these 6 TPOs, especially with that poor low, there's good odds that we are just going to take that B out, right? But to the upside, we've came down. What is this F low here? This F low is 35 quarter. We've seen that 35 act as resistance earlier when we were down here, right? This was another spot where they tried to sell. So we're getting a little bit of support off that same level. And that's kind of making me a little bit nervous because if we don't continue to spend time below the 35, there's good odds that the people that are short are just going to cover up again, and we've got a bunch of weak volume around that 44.50 to do backfilling, as I call it, through here, and it's not really the best for this short. And if we could switch it to the one tick increment, it's just harder to see on the zoom, but I mean you can see how big this thin spot really is, right? I'm just imagining it, I guess, inside my head with the two, with it being a little bit bigger, right? Because you know it's 2 ticks per. Longer. Does that help at all, or?
No, it is. It's funny, but then I shorted that one at 40. Where did it? I got in at 44,775, and then I left my 12 ticks and hit it. So
Okay, nice.
sometimes I think that messes with me a little bit. Like, why not let it? It's just funny that I've heard you talk about what we've been doing this since what, July, and psychology is so important. And
Yeah.
I've gone back through my trading pretty much since August, and I've been about a 52 to 55% ratio. But every time, like when on crypto, when I tried to move up in money, I started going down. When I'm trying to do it, the apex, and it's like, oh well, dumbass, it's got to be mental. If you know what I mean, like it's got to, and it's just, you've been talking about that forever, and it's like, okay, go back and listen to Trading in the Zone, go back and read Think Fast, Thinking Fast and Slow. That's been helping me, but it's amazing on how much mental this is
Oh,
compared to emotional.
yeah, it's crazy. It's just nuts. And you would never even think about it, and that's, I think, a lot of people's especially when people don't trade the profile and they're just trading candlesticks, a lot of times to get them to see the light, to get them to understand what I'm trying to tell them about. I'm like, it's psychology. You're trading against other humans and their emotions. Think about the emotions that you feel. They feel the same emotions. And so if you don't understand those emotions when you're feeling them, you're not going to understand them when someone else is feeling them either. And so it's going to be tough. It's going to make it more difficult to capitalize on that because you really just don't understand. And remember, now we're back below that 3 week balance. That 3 week balance at 44. Can you what? Yeah, that's right. Another big bounce right there off of that 35. I'm a huge fan.
No, I think that thinking fast and slow really does it with the number one and number two brain. I'm trying to, I write on my sheet now, like trust number two, not number one.
Right, yeah.
Like, what are you doing all this analysis for, to let the emotions take over?
Exactly. That's the worst part. It's like, fuck, I don't know how long it really took me. And even still to this day, I do stuff, where I have a trade plan, I write my trade plan down, and then I don't fucking do it. And it works out perfectly to my trade plan. And I'm like, motherfucker, why did I not just follow my trade plan? Like, what's the point of even doing it if I'm not going to use it, you know?
That was me yesterday. I wrote down in the morning. I even showed my wife. I was like, short 44.40. Wait for it to get there and short it. And then I kept on trying to long the bottom all morning long. Got chopped up. I'm like, what the fuck did I just do any of this for? You know. But that's why I feel like it's mostly mental. You know.
Oh yeah. I was actually in a chat room yesterday afternoon, the Walter Bloomberg Discord, and I had seen a bunch of people posting, I'm long this, I'm long that. I mean, I was driving to Roseville at the time. And then they would be like, "Oh, I got stopped out." And I almost never comment in there because I really just use that Discord for news, but I saw the opportunity and I'm like, dude, what? I come out like, why are you guys getting long? I'm like, why are you being so impatient? Why not just wait for this thing to get back above where that weak volume's at and look for buyers to come in and then get long with them? I was like, you guys are just begging to get smacked. And then the price went up during L, and one of them had tagged me and commented like, "Oh, fucking look, I see, I told you." And then the market closed like, fucking 30 points or 40 points lower, and I was like, I didn't comment back because it's just not, I don't care that much, but it's the human psychology that gets you. You want to buy things that are on sale, so to speak. I closed that trade too, that short amount. Let it saddle up here. You might get another sell down from here off the open too. So there might be some opportunity. Especially it looks like people are trying to short this 40 and 39 here. But kind of a distrust area. 40 to 4444 is kind of a distrusting area for me, especially this light volume.
Oh yeah, yesterday I did, and I kept on like one ticking below the low, and I'm like, why do I keep trying to put my stop? Like I don't know what I was doing. Like, and I kept doing it afterwards. I'm like, what the fuck did I just do? Go back to the original plan, and it was like, you idiot. Like I had like 3 good days in a row, and then I let myself go into the back thing, and it's like the minute you can figure out this mental game, I think it's on for me. But who knows? Who knows how long that takes? Sometimes, it's just the next process in the journey. It's just like, and I'm sure there's a couple people here going through the same shit. There's no way I'm the only one.
Oh, I'm right there with you, brother.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the natural process, right? And it's like I mean think about it in the perspective, right? So you are trading um everyone knows baseball, right? I always try to use like analogies because we have such a diverse group of people. But so with baseball, they have like single A, double A, triple A, and then the MLB. I'm not sure which order they go in because I'm not a baseball person. But I think triple A is the highest, I would imagine. Um,
Yes.
so you're playing in the triple A ball, and then every time it seems that you get a chance to jump up and play in the major leagues, you end up striking out. And so, and you've discovered why, way before most people. And the trick is to not exhaust your capital while you're learning. That's the issue for most people in this process is they run out of money or they run out of mental capital. They get to these mental traps where they're like, I just fucking suck at this. I can't do it. Right. But if you've gotten this far, and especially you, because I've been looking at all of your trading reports, you've been doing really well. It's just a matter of getting comfortable underneath of, going from a crowd of 10,000 people to a crowd of 80,000 people. You know what I mean? It's just that
Well,
feeling.
I coached college football, so I remember those games
Yeah.
in Clemson compared to the ones versus Troy State when it was 12,000 compared to 80,000. It's a different environment. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I like the Apex trading thing too, especially with that coupon I shared with everybody. It's like $75, and at least you can kind of. And for me, I feel the same thing mentally as I do when I was trading the live account. So it works out, and it's a little bit less, outlay. So you're not feeling like, oh shit, I'm $200 down in the month. With no, you're really your $80 investment or whatever it was to get
Right.
in.
And
And you're
it
still
gives
in the
you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're still in the game. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
down, but I'm not like, oh my God, I just blew all this money. It's like, well, if next month I need to do another evaluation account, I can budget that in without feeling that I'm, wasting the money that we could be going on vacation or something with.
Exactly, because $80. I mean, you're gonna throughout the month you're gonna waste $80. It's gonna happen. You're gonna buy candy at the gas station, a fucking soda that you don't need, some McDonald's or something. $80 is just eventually gonna be thrown in the trash, you know. And so you're looking at it as the perfect way. And the thing that gets people a lot with these things. Let me pull up Apex real quick so we can look at it. The thing that kills people with Apex is that, or with any funded trader thing, is this here. So you get access to 4 contracts and you have 20 micros. Let's say you're starting with this one. It's half off, right? So it's like $80 or $88 or something like that. Um, your profit goal is 1,500, but the way that they set this up is like, okay, if you finish this in 10 days, we'll give you a funded account. And so then all of a sudden their goal becomes to make $1,500 in 10 days. But when you're trading with ES contract and you only have a $1,500 drawdown, that's not very much room if you think about it, right? What's that? 30 points total, maybe?
Yeah.
So if you're wrong 30 points worth of trades, then this account's going to get reset. But if you're trading on the micros, right, you get access to 20 micros. Yeah, it's going to take you a little bit longer to hit that profit goal because now it's going to become 300 points that you need to get to hit that profit goal, instead of the 30 points that you're trying to get with the ES. But it doesn't matter about this 10 days, right? Yeah, you're going to have to pay the $80 at the end of 30 days because it's per 30 days, but you're and I mean, I keep using my dad as an example is because he just really grasped the concept of this so quickly that, you know, it, I mean, he made yesterday like $600 on the micros. You know, that's great. I mean, 600, 5 grand, $500 a day is over 100 grand per month, right? So if you can do it on the micros. Yesterday wasn't even a gigantic day, right? It was just being patient. Um, and so that's the issue, is that the psychology piece behind this is like, oh, 10 days, I need to finish it in 10 days, and this is the number I have to go to. And they give you access to the tools, right? They give you access to this power drill and this hammer or automatic, what do they call that? Nail gun. Um, instead of starting over here with the micros, your basic hammer, your level, your hand saw, shit like that, people want to use, the power tools. They want to use the impact wrenches, stuff like that. And it's just a psychology issue. That's all it is.
And what I've done is I'm trading the micros and I put a $75 loss limit. So it's like at least I'll get through the month without, feeling too bad, without having to reset in the middle. Kind of just
Well, you don't
what I've been
reset.
sticking with.
You don't
Well, you
reset.
have to. Well, you have to can't. Well, you can. If I'm down 1,000, I'm gonna cancel it and start a new one.
Oh, okay.
Before
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know you have to. You have
Yeah.
to tell them. But that's kind of how I am. If I'm below the threshold line, the
Might as
break
well.
even line, might as well start over.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but if let's say if you're at 1,000 and the end of the month is coming up, you're gonna have to pay another $80, but you still are gonna be up 1,000. You only need $500. That might not take you, 15. Here comes that low too. Might not take you, might take you a day, might take you 2 days, might take you another 30 days. Who knows? But if you like you're saying, dude, if you lose, if you get on this account and you lose it, well, if you lost $1,500, it would make you feel a little bit different than, understanding, okay, it was just $80. And
In my psychology, I feel it. Like it's funny because like this morning I was up 50 on the sim. Now I'm down 13 on the Apex, and it's like, and it's not but it's kind of a little bit of a laughable. And it's like, oh come on, brain, like stop, just what are you doing differently between A and B? I mean, just an hour's difference in the day. You know, it's just
have,
funny.
have you read that book, Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke?
No, that I'll put that one next. I'm in the thinking fast and slow one right now. Thinking in bets. Okay.
Yeah, Thinking in Bets, that's a good one. So
I'm
we're getting
trying to end my day with reading.
nice. Watched damn 80 points yesterday. Nice. Crippled with beer. Yeah, and seriously, Peter, like, I mean, it takes courage to speak up and publicly announce like some of these issues, and these are why we have accountability. It sounds like you use your wife, I use my wife too. But if you're not being accountable to somebody, it's going to be tough to give yourself honest feedback, because typically as human nature, like, we're like, oh, it's not that bad, right? Oh, you're doing okay. Like, I mean, things like that, like, where, like, even right now, like, fuck, I wish I would have held that trade. I came right up to my exit. I mean, I ended up closing it like at 38. What did I close this at? 38.50. I mean, but here we are back down at 26, about 10 points below where I got out of the short. So could have been a nice like 20-point short, but instead it was only 10. And to me, it's making me like, I'm like, I want to get back in here because I think it's going to go short. My natural, you know, primal part of my brain is telling me, ooh, it's going down. I must get on the downside. But I know that we're trading into yesterday's value, and this is an area that responsive buyers might show up, and just an area that I don't want to be a participant in until the market gives me some more information.
And these are ones that I'll get emotional. Like it's funny because right now I'm obviously not emotional that talking about it, but yeah, if I held the short too from 44.7, it would have been a great time. Day would have been over. I mean, I'll probably be done here soon, anyways. But um, it's just interesting how much like it's like you go through the technical analysis, you learn it, and then you throw it all to shit with your emotions, and it's like how much time are we spending on the emotional capital compared to the technical capital.
But explaining that to somebody new until they kind of see it, they're just like, they're like, you don't fucking, trend line's gonna hold, I'm gonna buy it. And then if it goes the wrong way, it's obviously because of the fucking market makers. They're screwing me.
I also think it's a bit about like investing time. Like, most of us aren't young. I mean, I know young cryptic's gonna be the difference in here, but most of us are a little bit older, and you're like, I'm spending a lot of time on this, and you're not earning, and you're like, holy shit. Sometimes, like it's not natural, in your 30s, 40s, 50s to be like spending time to like try to learn something new and like mentally when you were young, you do that, and it's part of the process. When you're older, you feel like, I need to be earning with the time. If that makes any sense.
No, that definitely makes sense. And see, for me, I think I had a little bit easier of time during my learning process because I've always been interested in psychology and human behavior, so I've always been, kind of looking at that. So when it came to understanding my emotions, I already kind of had that on lock. And then also because I was in the army, I had guaranteed paychecks at the end of every 2 weeks. And so it kind of, as I was investing a lot of this time learning these new things, it was also like, okay, well, if I don't do well, I'm still going to get a paycheck at the end of the month. So I'm going to be cool as long as I don't lose a fuckload of money. And that, I mean, that kind of helps as well.
Yep. For me, it's different. Me and my wife have a company, so it's like it's like, if I was spending 4 more hours a day in that, you know what I mean? That balance.
Exactly.
Of your head, but yeah, I can imagine. And you kind of knew your military was going to come to an end at one point, so you had to know what was next.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and really once I started just nailing once I really just started nailing everything, it was kind of like the turning point for me where I was like, you know what? I love the army, but I need more time to myself to be able to do the things that I want to do. Because I felt, I kind of had this feeling that I could be a master, but without the amount of time that it takes to become a master, I'm not going to be able to fully focus on it because my job in the army required constant learning as well, being a medic. And so I was like almost like, crossing wires and getting kind of tangled up because I'm plugging in all these things and then trying to figure out, okay, where did this one start? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, this one's leading back to trading, but this was a medical wire. Like, hang on, what's going on here? And it was just kind of fucking me all up. And I really didn't have the passion for being a medic in the army in a non infantry setting, to be honest. Like when I was in Washington and I worked in the hospital, it was cool because I got to teach people, but I didn't have a passion for what I was learning. I didn't like learning all the hospital settings and drip rates and all this extra shit that my wife is really good at. And I'm just like, that's just not for me. I just not. And it also sometimes comes with like natural intuition too. Sometimes you're naturally good at stuff and it makes you want to be good at stuff. Or some people are inverse, right? They're not good at things and so then they want to try to get good at things. And that's kind of how I was, but then when I got to Washington, I put that effort in and I was like, ugh, it's not for me. I don't enjoy it. So then I focused all my time on my soldiers and just making them better. And then when I got on recruiting came so natural to me because it was just literally communicating with people and explaining to them the opportunity that they could have. And that's why I think most people struggled in recruiting is because they were trying to convince people that, you need to join the military or else you're going to be a fucking loser. Right? And it's like, well, I don't think anyone's going to respond well to that. So you explain to them some of the things that have helped you in your life and compare, or assimilate where you're at because of these certain things. And then they make the judgment themselves. I always used to tell people that, like, hey man, it's gonna be you clicking the button, not me, because I don't want to get a phone call from you in 10 years saying, I fucking hated the army, blah blah blah, right? Because it's not my fault that you joined. I just showed you the door. You're the one who walked through the door, so don't try to put it on me. I know that you can make the army useful. And so if you go into the military and have a bad experience, right, that's just like everything in life. Your people are just going to have bad experiences, like some people are good at golf, some people go golfing and they're like, what the fuck is this game all about? Like, why are we doing this? They just don't don't get it. And I think honestly too, it's a lot of the end game. Well, that's one thing that really drove it for me, starting from a kid, really, because I really wanted to be not working as soon as possible. People are like, "Oh, what's your dream?" And my dream is like to not work.
I feel you there. I'm 40, trying to be done by 50. Yeah.
And not that not
Right.
that not that this is not work, right? Because it does require work, like you're saying. You put in all the technical analysis, you do all this work, and then as soon as you master that psychology, stick to your trade plan, trade your trade plan. If the trade doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If it does work out, awesome. But it's just, just like baseball, like every time you get up to bat, you're just not always going to get a hit. But if you're always looking for a home run, the chances of you getting a hit are going to become less and less, right? Like uh, what Aaron Judge, well, he's been actually doing a pretty decent job of hitting lately. But let's say back in the day, Mark McGwire, when he first, well, actually, let's say late stages when he was on the Cardinals, it was like a 50-50 chance that he was either going to strike out or hit a home run. So of course he's swinging for the fences, but those aren't great odds because you have to hit as many homers as you strike out, and it's just not going to happen, right? And he did some other things to make it more possible, but that's just kind of how we have to go about it. What were you going to say, TJ?
I should say sometimes I hear you say stuff and I'm like, man, we are so similar.
Yeah, I'm just a normal person, bro. Like regular. I mean, yeah, I mean, because how old are you?
I'm 28.
Yeah, so you're not too much younger than me, and then married, young kids. A lot of like life balancing goes into that too, and that's where the communication is going to be key. Like you've got to communicate with, if you have a significant other, or even just set yourself limits every single day, because you can get that analysis paralysis, as they call it, right? You can kind of overlearn. You get on YouTube and you watch like 12 hours of Jim Dalton videos, and eventually everything sounds exactly the same. And you're like, I'm not learning anything, I'm just hearing stuff. So you've got to, that's where that psychology comes back in, and you've got to realize, like, okay, I need a break. And for me, I use my spouse, I tell her, like, hey, like, I've got to do this. This is what I've got to do to be successful. And this is how it's going to happen. And then sometimes I'm spending a little bit too much time on the computer, and my wife and I have the relationship where she's like, hey, like, you're spending a lot of time on the computer, like, and that's kind of a reality check for me, like, oh, you know what, I probably am, and maybe I'm getting close to that point where I'm going to burn myself out. I better take a break. And that's kind of what I want this community to be about, is because not everyone has um such a person easily accessible right by them that can do that for them. So we've got to do that for each other here, and the only way we can do that is like Peter did today, opening up with some honesty. So Peter, definitely thank you for sharing. That was awesome.
You're welcome. I appreciate all the learning here too. So, and I can see some of the comments that people are having the same problems, and we're not all alone on it. It's good to see people doing this, having the same. Like, I want everybody to be successful, but it's like it's good to see people in the same kind of land in the journey, since we all kind of started together.
Right.
Or not all of us, but a chunk of us.
Right. if simming is the best way to get analysis and plays down, how can we do best practices for taming these built up? If an anxious, not. Yeah, I mean, it really just does come. It just really does come with time, and it takes people some it takes others longer, and some shorter. We have another poor low, and we're inside yesterday's value here, guys. It's kind of hanging out, but we're getting a decent amount of volume. So watch watch the volume as it shifts down here. I'm going back to your question in a second. So we have volume here, and we're starting to hang out. So if this volume starts to come down, really thin spot on these singles, if this volume starts to keep accumulating, we'll be looking for that spike. The spike is going to act as support, or we'll look for it to act as support because we're above it now, but it's looking, the market is looking a bit heavy here. But I mean, it really just takes time to learn how to, because the emotions aren't going to go away, right? They're never going to go away. Every time I get in a trade, I still feel the emotions. It's just a matter of feeling comfortable with them. What's going to make you start to understand these emotions is your continuous analysis of the current trade that you're in, and because we're able to easily see why we want to get in a trade, and then once we're in a trade, we're almost making up reasons on why to stay in the trade. You know what I mean? We're like, even if the trade starts going against us, it's like the first thing we do, like, I don't know, it's probably going to get support right here, right? Even if that spot is above our stop loss, we're like, yeah, it's going to get support right here. I'll chill. I'll just stay in this trade. Or like, let's say a trade starts running, and you're like, like when this F period came down, doing this thing. When this trade starts coming down, you're like, oh, I want to get short. Instead of being patient and knowing, I mean, this is half back, could have just been selling off of half back. That's all that could have been. And so why not be patient and wait to see if they sell it again, and then sell it with them if you like that area. But instead we FOMO in and we get short here, and we're like, oh shit. And instead of closing this trade off for like a 2-point loss, we just wait. We put our stop up here, and we're like, oh, it's going to get support. G comes up. We come back to break even. We're like, oh, okay, we're good. And then let's say if it comes back up again, doesn't look like it's gonna, but if it did come back up again, we start telling ourselves the exact same thing that we told ourselves the first time, right? And those are those emotions that you've got to try to combat, right? And really the best way, I think, to deal with them, and I know I turned this short question into a long answer, is to write it down. Right? Write it down. Write down what you're feeling. Write down the reasons. I mean, eventually, as time goes on, you won't need to write it down because you have these compartments that you've built inside your brain that you stick these in. Okay, I'm in this trade, boom. And then I write down a lot of numbers throughout the day. I don't write down a lot of words throughout the day anymore. I do a lot of writing at the end of the day. That's where I get all my thoughts out and stuff like that. But if you're not writing these things down during the day, it's hard to go back and just think what you were feeling at that time, because it is, a fairly new feeling. Like, we've been doing this for about a year. That's a pretty newer feeling, right? You think about your job right now, and depending upon what it is, a year from now, how much comfortable you'll be in it. But think about, especially if you're a little bit older like me, or you've had like when I was in the military, my first year, first 2 years, first 3 years, every time when I went to formation, I was still a little bit nervous. And then, as time progressed, I'm like the first one at formation, and I'm like, I'm about to make people nervous. You know what I mean? I know what those nerves are all about. So I'm gonna feel them and I'm gonna dish them out, things like that. And not really a great example, I guess, but just kind of along those lines. You know what a great way to do it also is record yourself. You know what I mean? Like record yourself while you're trading. And then you can literally watch your chart back, and then even if you put a camera on, I know a lot of traders do that, put a camera on and record their face. And when they watch it back, what they found is people traders that are in bad trades tend to look at themselves. You'll look down towards that camera and see what you're looking at. Watch this as this comes down to this spike. I know I should have held that fucking trade. But, they look at themselves and they're like, oh, so that came right down to the overnight half back. That's a mechanical low, I think. See it right here. But I still think we got some more low in us. But you watch it back, and you could watch it back like 2 times, 5 times, because you're not really saying anything. But if you do record yourself, that's the best time. Record yourself, have a mic, speak into it, what you're feeling, talk about all of your emotions, and then go back. And you only have to watch the parts that you took a trade, or that you had wrote down that you wanted to take a trade, and look at everything that's going on.
Watching game film.
Exactly. And that's the thing is like, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say my 11-year-old. The first time I showed him his soccer games when he was 9, I was like, "This is what you have to do." He hated it, and now after every game, he wants it to see what he does wrong. It took a while, but it's tough to watch yourself. But once you get see how much you can learn. I've never done it on this, but in sports, it's a big deal.
And for you already know how to analyze game film because you coached college football. So, we actually have kind of, it's kind of lucky to actually have you in this group because your talent at analyzing game film is probably better than most, to be honest.
And just experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
7 years experience doing it at a pretty high level.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to start recording it when I trade.
And that's the thing I told my kids, because I have a really good grasp on the concept of basketball, right? I'm not very good at basketball. I mean, I like in a pickup game, like in rec league, like I can do pretty well. But like when it comes to like I played against high school kids that are like, probably going to college. There's just the gap there is just so different, right? These kids are just, they're just good. And I'm really good at noticing things that can improve because when I was a kid, my dad was all about fundamentals. He's like, this is how you shoot the basketball. If you shoot the basketball any other way than this, you're just fucking getting lucky or you're going to shoot up a brick. So you've got to get the angle right. You've got to put your hands on the ball, grip. All these things go into shooting a basketball. And then for me, my disconnect is dribbling. I've got like really big hands and really long arms and I'm really fucking short. And so it's like, for some reason it just doesn't add up. Maybe if I was taller, who knows, I could have been good at basketball, or could have at least been a little bit more of a chance at basketball. But I have a good grasp on it. So when I see kids like at the park doing things that you can tell have potential but don't have that coach to tell them, that's where I really like to jump in. And I've told my kids, like, no matter how good you get at shooting or how good you get at dribbling, if you can't put them together, you don't get to play at the high level because that's what it takes. And so if you don't practice that or don't watch, like you're saying, watch your game film, like I bet when you guys watch your son's soccer game back, you're like, hey, look, this is what you did right here. But if you did this instead, that would have been better. And the only way to do that is really to watch it back. That's why, journaling is just so important. I just love journaling so much.
Yeah. I had a mild epiphany, not too, just barely, if you don't mind me sharing.
Yeah, of course.
One of my weak areas is journaling. And I think I tried to get around it by like, I'm taking too many trades to write them down every time. And looking back, that is the problem. So I posted not too long ago about how I gave myself 3 restrictions. I have a profit, 10-point profit for the day, a 5-point loss, or a 5 trade limit. And when I did that, instead of taking every possible trade, you're looking for a good trade. And the reason why, for me, I think that it was important is like, do I really want to spend one of my trades on this trade, or do I want to look for a more optimal setup? And I was just like, I don't want to waste a trade on that, so I would hold back. And that does two things: it keeps you from over trading, and the trades that you do take, you're paying a lot more attention to, and then you can write those trades down. So it's like you keep telling us to journal, and in my mind I was like, I hate journaling. I've been told to keep a journal my entire life. Like, but the way that my brain works, I'll start to write a sentence, and I'm already like 14 sentences in to what I want to write for the day, and then I forgot what the hell I was writing about in the first place. So, and I'm also listening to Thinking Fast or Slow, and it's like, it's helping me realize, hey, you just kind of got to slow down a little bit and pay attention to what it is that you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, for me, that helped. So it's like, yeah, when you tell people to journal, it's like, okay, don't just journal for journaling's sake, because that's retarded. What you want to do, and for me, I'm just correlating this right now, and I was so excited. I was like, hey, I gotta tell these guys. So in case somebody else listening is like over trading or doesn't want to write their stuff down, it's like, okay, there's not necessarily something that everybody understands, but there's method behind the madness. And so for me, it was looking for that quality trade. And it's like, okay, yeah, it looks like it's going to bounce here. Yeah, I'll snipe, 2, 3, 4 ticks, maybe get lucky and take 10 ticks. But do you really want to do that? Do you want to take one of your trades on a chance that you might get a couple ticks? How about we wait till it gets here, and then we'll look for 30 or 40 points? That's probably extreme, but you kind of understand where I'm going with that.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, let's hold off, look for a more optimal entry, and then we'll spend one of our trades on that. So that's I don't know. I'm super excited right now because I'm realizing stuff for myself.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It is a great session. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and I've had, look at that. There's a bunch of short covering right there. I've had those like epiphanies or like aha moments, and they're so nice when they start to come in, and you're like, holy shit, I think I'm figuring this out. That's I mean, such a good feeling. And it's still, and the best part about it is it doesn't go away. Like, you still continue, because the market is forever changing. There's no specific set of plays that are just gonna help you win the game every single day, every single time, right? Even the Dallas Cowboys in the 1990s only won the Super Bowl 3 times, and honestly, by stats and, I mean, basically everything, that dominating offensive line, Cowboys should have won the Super Bowl from like 1991 if Jerry Jones didn't fucking fire Jimmy Johnson, to like 2000. And the team split up in 97 because Barry Switzer couldn't hold the team together because he's a fucking shitbag. Still sore about it, obviously. I'm a hardcore Cowboys fan. That is awesome. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, today is a great team win. Even if you didn't score any points, team scored points, and that's what this is all about. All-Star said he's so lousy for journaling to the point that he doesn't have one. I've been harping on my buddy Jared about journaling for ages, it seems like, and it's
kind of what Poppy were saying about journaling. I've noticed, like, if I'm trading so much that I can't keep up with the journal, that's never been a good day.
Yeah,
exactly.
My best days are break even, I think.
Yeah, that's like a win on those type of days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. All right, guys, I gotta head out of here. Get up back to the real work. But you guys, great time. You guys have a good rest of the day.
All right, you too, Peter. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
I got to bounce too, Brad. I got to go help a guy rip some stuff out of his room and throw in some carpet. So, but this is an awesome session today. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Pop. Have it easy.
Yeah.
No, a good day can still be a day that you lose money, I think. In my opinion. I think that you know, as long as it's not a day, it's tough to to learn a lesson from a day that kind of blows your account out, but on a day that you lose, um, you know, it's there's nothing wrong with that, right? You can still learn a lesson. And that's one good thing, you know, with my dad that he kind of takes he takes in really well because him and I share every day. And you know, even on days that we have losses or we trade like shit, I forget what day it was last week. I traded like just absolute shit. I barely squeaked out a green day, but I mean, I over traded. I was just, you know, emotional and just angry. And it just, you know, it happens, you know, I mean, it happens all the fucking time. It just happens. It's just a matter of making sure it doesn't happen all the time and making sure when you do lose, it's not, you know, catastrophic. Yeah, losing, that's a good one, Uncle Stacy. Losing is only a loss if you don't learn. Yeah, great one.
Years ago, I had a business that failed. I lost about 300 grand. And somebody was looking at me like I was nuts, going, how does this not affect you? How are you not freaking on your knees crying? And I said, well, I look at it as I paid for the education. I learned a whole bunch of shit to get here.
Yeah, exactly. And that is just paying, yeah, paying the market your tuition, you know? It just depends on
This wasn't trading. This was a business, but yeah, but same
well, yeah.
premise.
Yeah.
Same thing. And same thing. If you walk away and you didn't learn anything, then it really is a loss, regardless of how much money it was.
Right. And if you didn't take that lesson and if you just got on your knees and started, you know, crying or blaming somebody else for the loss, you wouldn't be driving that Tesla right now.
Do that.
And that's what I'm always saying with the market, really, like, you know, you've got to the journey is going to be a long journey and it's going to be worth the long journey, but you just got to make sure that you can stay, you know, solvent before you get there. And then you've got to understand that it's not going to happen in one day, right? If you have 4 at bats today and all of them are home runs, well, you know, awesome. The next game
watch out tomorrow. That's
yeah, exactly. Because you're going to be thinking like, shit, I only hit home runs. Yeah, there's a quote. There's a quote in that book, Thinking Fast and Slow. Um, I'm trying to find it right now, but there's a good one that kind of um, comes with effort and then plays on human psychology and how humans are just so prone to do the easiest thing. Okay, I'll check that All Stars. We're in the All Stars, we're in the Zoom too, in the Discord if you just want to jump in the Zoom.
Humans always do the easiest thing, and that's how you know we didn't build those pyramids.
Here it is. Here it is. It says a general law of least effort applies to cognitive as well as physical exertion. The law asserts that if there are several ways of achieving the same goal, people will eventually gravitate towards the least demanding course of action. In the economy of action, effort is a cost, and the acquisition of the skill is driven by the balance of benefits and cost. Laziness is built up deep into our nature, right? Which is why, you know, it's natural to want to do these things the easy way, why we're looking for these green dots and yellow X's, right? it's just natural human nature. And if you don't understand that, that's where the psychology piece comes in. If you don't understand that that's what is happening to you or what's happening to everybody, um, you're just probably never going to get past that step. Quitting is the easiest. Yep, exactly. Quitting is the easiest in trading. And that's why 95% of traders don't make any money, is because they quit. Exactly.
There's a saying that all programmers are lazy and that their whole goal in life is to replace all the people in their life with small shell scripts, which is a simple way of saying that you're unimportant. And it's the same premise. I mean, you're constantly trying to find a way to, you know, everything is a problem to solve. And your laziness, unfortunately, is that problem that you're trying to solve. Like you're saying, you have to be able to put in the work in order to be able to get it out, which, I mean, I've been in this thing for 18 months. I don't know how many thousands of dollars I'm down, but I'm finally at a point where I'm actually not jumping in without looking around and seeing what's actually coming at me.
Right. You're being patient, letting that trade come to you, because you've been doing really well.
Well, for the after I started looking at it a little bit more pragmatically, yes. But my mindset is based on that I could just write a small shell script. This is easy, and I started out that way. And the first few iterations of my model that I had created were, you know, initially giving me out, I'll just say, a very significant amount of money, and I was like, oh, this is going to be simple, and then I started to actually work it and put it into play, of validating it, and realized that it was bullshit. And that's the point, is you can't, that's the work, is taking an idea and turning it into something that actually works. And it's ultimately, it's figuring out your trade plan. What does that trade plan look like? And your trade plan changes. For me, it changes from day to day. Not not tremendously, but it becomes more honed. I actually am focusing. Like yesterday, I was definitely not my best day, but today I was like, every effing trade that I did, paper and real, was a solid trade, and everything came out green, every single one, because I looked at it, I said, okay, yes, I'm watching everything, and said it's doing the right thing, and got in. And then I was like, I'm up enough, I don't need to do anything greedy, got out, and I'm done.
Exactly. And that's the thing about the market too, is like, you know, it's like one of those things where you have to constantly keep improving or adjusting. I don't know if I would say improving, but I mean, I would say improving, because you're always learning new things, but you have to constantly adjust because the market is forever changing, right? It's unlike a lot of other uh, regular jobs, and that's why I compare it to being um, a professional type of action, you know, on the same level of professional athletes. Because yeah, the job is the same. You know, baseball, your job is to get out there and hit the ball, but you're sometimes a different pitcher in the same game. You know, different pitches, different crowd, different weather. I mean, there's so many variables that come into it every single day, and it's the same thing with trading, and you just have to constantly adjust. But if you don't go into it, you know, doing your homework, right? Like, okay, who are the pitchers I'm going to be facing today? These are the pitches that they have. Okay, so this is what I'm going to focus on. Because if you're not focusing on what's going on in front of you, that's going to kind of just lead you to doing what worked last time. And what worked last time, as we know, doesn't always work again. And that's where people get complacent, and they're like, oh, I'll just show up to work, hammer the nails, head home. And then they get a call back to work and be like, hey, you put a bunch of shiners through the fence that you built, you need to come back and take all them out. And then you get all pissy because you did a shit job, because you took the easy way out. Now you have to do something the first time, or you have to do something a second time. I think that's probably one of the best lessons my dad taught me really young. Like, if you don't do it right the first time, you're going to do it again, and you're going to just keep doing it until it's fucking done right. So if you just do it the first time, you won't have to get all pissy when I call you and tell you, like, hey, you got to come back and do this. I wonder if there's some news real quick. Hang on, that was kind of a big little liquidation right there. 2.72 bond auction. Ooh. Careful here. Walter Bloomberg said that the 10-month note's 2.72. Not great. And remember the spot here. So the CPI report came out right here in these single prints. It was actually right here, right below the spike. So if we get below this, you're going to get a lot of the people that were long off that CPI start to liquidate. And bonds are just getting absolute. Shout out to Lincoln for raising it. Not giving him too much credit.
That's hilarious.
Me and my dad are just super not as much anymore now that we're older, but like when I was a kid, everything. And I'm the same way with, like, we'll walk out the door, like, you know, go to the, you know, going to the park. I'm like, let's go to the cart, and just fucking like both my kids, they'll just take off. They're like, it's like, you know, they're ready for that. They're anticipating it. And even if it doesn't happen, they just slowly, you know, cruise to the car, but they're waiting for it. They're like, as soon as he says it, I'm already on my toes. I'm gonna beat it to the car this time. And my kid's getting emotional too. We were playing Mario Kart, and it's like the battle where you collect coins. And my son had all these coins, and I was like, I started, you know, screen looking at him and just going for him, and just knocked all of his coins. He ended up losing, and then just instant tears, but not tears of sadness, tears of anger. Ooh, XLF is looking like caca. Look at it. This is what I've said. I think XLF is our ticket. XLF, if banks don't get strong with interest rates high, that's a sign. You know what I mean? Because if interest rates are high, that means banks are lending money for higher interest rates, so they should be making more money. So banks should be going up, but interest rates are going up and banks are going down. Bonds are going down as well. That's not good for the economy or good for the overall market. And look at the XLF. It's the financial sector, so it's an ETF that tracks the financial. So if we look, we can look at. So JP Morgan, let me make it a little bit smaller. You know, we got JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock. Is today Wednesday? No, today's Tuesday. So we got, I think Goldman Sachs and BlackRock both report for earnings tomorrow. You've got AXP, American Express, you've got Capital One, MetLife, AIG, and then Berkshire Hathaway. B, which is like the only thing that's doing okay today. So they end up holding that low, and they're still holding above. Really, let's watch that 44.16. I know it's kind of just an obscure number, but that 44.16, I think if the market breaks below that, you're going to see a big liquidation. And that could take us all the way back down to the 4,400 level. But as long as we keep holding, I mean, market's just kind of, that was just more of a reaction low, right? So that's one of those times too, you got to understand the emotions. And that's why, you know, sometimes the news is important when you're trading the market. The fundamentals will go out the window because the news will just smack it down. This thing opened up, was kind of ticking up, looked like it wanted to take that G high. That news came out, boom, smacked it back down, but put in a poor low, right? And that tells you emotion. That tells you a little bit of emotion, because a lot of times when we have this poor low, it's, I mean, one of two things: a big buyer stepped up, or selling just shut off. And in this case, probably, you know, I would assume that selling just shut off, because if we look back at yesterday, that was kind of our break point, right? That's where those single prints are at. So the reason that it came down was mostly based off of liquidation comparative to new money selling. But we are below 4444 is our balance. Or, you know, if we, let's say we were to close today, this would basically be showing acceptance outside of that 3-day balance. And then we start, you know, looking at our chart here. If we're getting accepted below that balance, and this chart's kind of so this Russell. When we're looking at the ES, we're underneath of this balance. So if we were to close right here, let's say we're seeing acceptance, and so the target would become, you know, that low. That would show us, you know, real acceptance or real continuation, right? Because when something comes into imbalance, if we're back at our circle, right, and we've got like 80% of this circle is balance, and we've got a little chunk of excess and a little chunk of imbalance. Well, we have balance, and then we had an imbalance day start. So are we going to get continuation, or are we going to get rejection? But remember, and this is a kind of an interesting thing, another reason I kind of thought this balance, look at what we have in this area. I'm not sure if I circle it on the trade view. It's the 10. It's the here it is, 11. Yeah, I did. Yeah, and that's kind of that area, right? That's kind of that area where we have, I drew a little square on it. And so what I meant by that square, because I know it's hard when it's through text, but we have all these auctions, these previous auctions that are here that have ended in this area. This auction ended in this area as well. Right, and if these auctions are ending here, right, these are buying auctions that end and then pull back and then finally buy through. Selling auctions end here, pop through, same thing. Buying stops, ends here, push through. Come down here, get some, selling auction sends, supply shuts off. So if we are in an imbalance, right, we broke out of balance. If imbalance is going to continue, then we should break this low. Right, we broke today's high, which was very interesting, mainly just due to the CPI report. But if we break the low, that continues imbalance. And so, and if we don't, if we trade back into balance, then this just becomes excess, right? And I know it's a little bit different to look at it on a daily chart, but it's the same idea, right? Because the profile just slowly starts to compact with each other. And that's why I start monthly, weekly, daily, and then intraday on my profile, because you're using it in the same way. So imagine if these were 30-minute candles, right? And we had our first 3 candles form in a balance. The 4th candle, D candle, right, comes down, gets an imbalance, and now we're on our E candle here, and we took the high of the D candle, but we haven't broken the low of the D candle, and so we're kind of in this, like, you know, awkward balance. Are we going to get accepted lower? Are we going to trade back into this hour and a half balance that we had? That's as you start, putting in more time. And we'll just keep going on this because the market's really just kind of hanging here for a second. It does look like it wants to go lower though. Not getting a ton of volume down here yet, but and then so we look on the weekly, and on the weekly, we're one time framing down, right? Boom, boom, boom. The low of this previous 2-week balance is here. We're kind of hitting up on the low of that. We've seen auctions end here. Look, this one ends here, this one ends here. These two end here. It just makes sense for the auction to end there because people are creatures of habit and they see, okay, this is where the auction ended before. That's where prices were determined not to be as fair. So the auction market, market auctions back up. And so on the weekly, until we get a break of this one time framing, and this is this current week here, until we get a break of this one time framing, that's all the way at 4,600, and on a longer term scale, we're looking at the downside, right? Because we're making lower highs on a weekly. Right? Yeah, we made a higher high here, but not by much, right? That was more of just kind of a blow off, and we didn't even close up there. We just popped and then closed back down here. And this came right up to that level, this level we talked about in the trade view as well, because we've seen a lot of auctions end around these levels. So then what we're looking for here as we're entering this previous weeks, and remember this week was just this huge up week, where is value within this week? And so, I mean, you know, we'd have to turn on our volume profile to really to look for that. I'm not trading on ooh, look at that thing's kind of starting to go back up to that 43.30. I'm not trading, you know, I'm not really swing trading, so I don't really dig into the volume like that, because it's mostly just structure and time based, to be honest. When it gets to that big of a move. Here goes that G high. Stops get bought, trades back down. Watch, the impulse was the 30. Buyer stepped up on the 30, so let's see if they try to hold it again. Back down to the 30. Not a huge slow here. Not a huge fan of getting long down here. Like I said, I really don't really like too many longs until we're above the 50. This is yesterday's half back here too. At 31.50. I think the most difficult part would be actually write a script on the psychological response you had when getting into the trade. Yeah, that would be tough. Oh, another thing too, I know a lot of people are looking at the ES market, and this is something Ira talked about yesterday on Tasty Trade, and how it's like it could be a possible head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, right? Normally inverse head and shoulders move up, but another thing that happens with technical traders or technical analysis is they get so fixated on where these things are supposed to happen, right? And an inverse head and shoulders, and I'm not taking any credit for this. This is Ira over from Tasty Trade. He said it. I'm just kind of regurgitating the information. He made a very good point about how an inverse head and shoulders is normally a reversal pattern, but signifying the bottom. Well, this inverse, and I'm using quotations here, inverse head and shoulders that a lot of people are talking about is not occurring at the bottom, it's occurring at the top. So it basically invalidates that version of technical analysis. It's just that people, you know, that's where it comes in, all these minute things. Like I said, I don't like to use a Fibonacci unless it's on a daily chart or higher, because it just doesn't make any sense to me unless you're doing some, I mean, I just won't do it. It's just not my style. It could work for some people. I just don't think that's how it was meant to be used. I really don't. I don't think that when Fibonacci came up with these Fibonacci numbers and they're magically throughout the thing, they were magically throughout this thing on days, on a daily chart. Not just, you know, whenever the fuck you want on your 3-minute chart. And so
Right, but
when you're looking at a technical pattern like this and this inverse head and shoulders, it doesn't make any sense technically, you know, and that's where you get away from a lot of these things, like, oh, this thing's bull flagging, bear flagging, blah blah blah, but where is it happening to? And that's why it's so important to zoom out and see, you know, we're on the daily here, you go to the weekly is up, we go to the monthly looks pretty up. Go ahead, Kevin.
can I
Yeah.
touch back on that? So Fibonacci to me is like some kind of like cosmic fucking phenomena that's like fucking crazy. But when it was done, of course, they didn't have 3-minute, 5-minute charts. But don't
Right.
you think that? To me, I think that some of the reason that Fibonacci works on any time frame is because there's so many bots in their program to Fibonacci, and like especially in the when you're doing swing trading and super fast trading, a lot of that is like 80. I don't know. I've heard every number in the book, but a high percentage of it is is bots. And so if they're programmed to Fibonacci, wouldn't it work great at those levels? I mean, that's kind of how I looked at it.
The
I just like
reference the references that I like tend to stem from daily charts when it comes to things like that, like trend lines or Fibonacci's or patterns, right? We do see intraday like lagging patterns, wedges, and things like that. But if they're not wedging on a daily, then I don't really expect much out of them. And the reason I think that a lot of them work, like you said, is because a lot of people are using them, right? The same reason I have the 200 moving average on my ES chart, not that I'm using it, but I just know that a lot of people are using it. So for some magical reason, all of a sudden we're just heading up, buyers are coming in, we're just rocketing, and then all of a sudden we just hit a brick wall and sell off, but there's nothing there. Well, what the hell is it? And I look over, I think or swimming, like, oh, the 200 is there, and these motherfuckers are just selling the 200. And I know that's just kind of a weak reference, right? But what I also don't discount is the amount of people that are selling the 200 on the daily chart thinking like, oh, this thing's not going to get above the 200. And I don't want to battle against that. So I just wait for it to kind of go away and then go. But on a, like you said, back in the day, I mean, it's crazy when I look on YouTube sometimes and I see, oh, okay, now I'm gonna flip over to my 3-minute chart. It's like, what? Your 3-minute chart? What the fuck are you doing? Especially on crypto. Like, why the fuck are you so zoomed in on crypto? Like, it just seems it's too minute. Unless you're literally like, if I'm gonna trade a super low time frame on crypto, I'm gonna be fucking 100xing that shit, and I'm gonna be going for the smallest profit you've ever seen in your life. You know what I mean? Because when you're zoomed in that far, that's what you're trading. You're trading the right now. You're trading what's happening right now. And so, yeah, you see this bull flag and you're like, oh, bull flag, it breaks out. And then you start looking at resistances on a fucking 2-hour and a 4-hour and a daily. And it's like, well, you're just living in a fucking fantasy land. You're thinking this 3-minute pattern is going to take you to a fucking daily breakout. It's just chaotic, right? Unless you've gone from out to in and we've decided, where's an opportune spot for people to buy? Well, people to buy inside yesterday's value. What are they doing? They're buying inside yesterday's value. And so, yeah, then you could zoom in maybe and find yourself the perfect entry. But I think people are so fixated on exactness. And it's kind of the reason that I fucking hate Fibonacci's, because people say, oh, it's exactly off the 664 or whatever the fucking thing is. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? That exactness does not matter. Look at that flush. Just trapped up a bunch of buyers up there and then just fucking smacked them down because they're over anxious to get long off of a low. Why? What are they doing? And then they learn fucking what happened yesterday? I mean, look, let's drag this profile over from yesterday. Look what's happening here. Look at H period. Got smacked. I period just chilled. JKL. Smack. Right? They didn't learn. They're creatures of habits because they're too micro focused. They're zoomed in. Right? And I mean, it gets me, TJ, it does kind of it gets me amped up because it's like there's almost no arguing with some of these people or no explaining, because I'm not really a big arguer. I'm trying to explain facts or just, natural things or give a different perspective, even not even, I don't want to call it facts because it's a theory, right? Auction market theory is not necessarily a fact. And they get, but people get so fixated on exactness. Oh, it's exactly here. It's exactly here. I was exactly correct. It's exactly off the 50 Fibonacci. It's exactly off the golden pocket. But none of that shit matters unless you know what's actually happening and then you can trade it. No, I don't think they're stop loss hunts because you can't see people's stop losses. Market makers can't see people's stop losses. Big money makers can't see people's stop losses. They just know where they're at. I've told you guys where they're at. They're at the end of every 30-minute bar and every point where you would just assume that would make you wrong, right? Let's say you're short here off the 3150, right? If it breaks the H high, you're not necessarily wrong. This thing could definitely take a bath the rest of the day. Where are you going to know you're wrong for sure? Up here, right? When it breaks the high of day. And why are you going to know you're wrong is because everyone else, their stops are going to be up here too. So when we run these stops, you're going to get a move against. The difference is when we do impulse out of here, I mean, this is hypothetical, obviously. When we impulse out of here, somebody bought all of this inventory of people's stops, right? But you can't see it because it's a stop limit order. So it's against the you can't tell that it's a stop limit order is what I mean. Like if you're it's just in order, and it's so far.
Brad,
What's up?
hey, sorry, so a lot of times you're answering questions, but we don't know what the question is. You know what I mean? Because we can't see like that one you just answered right now.
Oh, that's on you. That's on YouTube. Okay, so the question was, do you think there are also stop loss hunts? I'll read the questions. That's a good
Now
point,
your answer
Kevin.
makes sense.
Okay,
I
yeah,
was like, what was the question?
yeah, yeah. So Seb asked, do you think there are also stop loss hunts? And I don't. I don't. I think that people are smart and know how to get them, kind of like yesterday, right? Whoever was dealing up here understood the psychology of the day that was going on and understood they could trap some people up here and shake out some of these shorts that were basically, nervous all day. When in reality, when you're short down here, if you're big money or you're confident in your short, you're not wrong until price gets back above where all this volume was at, right? So there's no point to close a short right here. And if anything, you're looking to get short out here to trade it just back into value, right? That's a perfect little excess because remember we separated this profile yesterday from here. I'll show. Merge Go chart. Right. So we saw this yesterday, and this L period is just excess. That's all it is, just good excess. Right? We had a liquidation. We get that good excess. That's why I typed in the Discord, hey, did anyone short that? Because I was watching it happen on my phone, and I'm like, bro, like fucking, why am I? Huh? The question in the Discord was, did anybody short this L high, the break of that 38? Because 38 was a level that we were watching all day. And we got this break of it and nothing, no volume. Look at that, 180 contracts traded up there. That's nothing comparatively to what we were getting throughout the day. And so it was a perfect time to see that initiated buying is not coming in and to fade it back down into value, especially on a day where we know we don't really want to be getting long until we get above the 50 anyways. So where's the next best spot that we can wait to get short? It was here. And I mean, these poor fuckers in H just got caught in the same idea, right? They just ran into a wall. They're buying yesterday's value, right? Gambling, and then price runs up and they get smacked. They had the mechanical high, I would say, right off that F half back. They're not paying attention to what happened yesterday in this exact same. I mean, look at this. It's almost exactly the same. Where's this H high? 2 ticks above the H high from yesterday. So the exact same thing happened yesterday, and they forgot about it because they're not paying attention to yesterday. They're so focused on their fucking 3-minute chart that they've got going on today, and it's fucking them all up. And then they're losing money and blaming it on the market maker that's hunting their stop. Oh, they fucking hunted my stop. Like, shut the fuck up. Stop thinking that you are so important that someone is out there looking for your stop. Come on. Be honest with yourself. I think that's a big thing is people aren't honest with themselves when it comes to trading, and that's why they struggle.
That was as bad as BitBoy thinking that the miners in China were fucking with his trades, or who was it? Somebody in China was fucking with his trades, and that's why he was losing so many trades in a row. You know, because he was posting them on Twitter, and they were front running his trades.
Well, somebody, I mean, he doesn't have that much notoriety outside of crypto. But maybe in the cryptoverse, they could, if he's showing his positions, then, you know, there could be people trading against him. You know what I mean? It's just like short sellers in the market. People try to find stocks that are short. They figure out who's short, and if the person that's not the person that's shorting this stock is not a big player, right? Or they know that they're undercapitalized, so they're in a position that they shouldn't be in, they'll just squeeze that fucker out. Pop the market back up and then bring it right back down. So they'll squeeze that person out. The person will cover their short, and then boom, right back to where we started. So I mean, maybe in a situation like him, because he has notoriety, he's not really trading that big of size. Honestly, I don't think. I honestly don't even think he fucking trades. If I'm being honest, I think he's full of shit. I think he's just bought a bunch of crypto and he's just holding that shit. He probably had crypto for a long time, so his average on Bitcoin is probably like $5,000, and so you know he's just bullshitting, right? Um, but yeah, I agree with you. It's the same idea. And if you've got that, you know, if you've got that notoriety, look at Elon. Elon's like, hey, I bought shares in Twitter. What do you guys want to do? Right? But he bought those shares in fucking January, and he told everyone about them in March. What did the stock do? Shot up, right? We look over at Twitter. I mean, look at the gap that it put in. This is the day that he announced, right before April 1st, right at the end of the month. He's like, hey, I bought a bunch of shares of Twitter. And then you look at the filing, and it was like January 27th. Bought them like 2 months ago. But people know Elon is not somebody to trade against. Because if he really wanted to, he'd just change your entire life because he's a billionaire. You know? I mean, he really could. If he figured out who you were and wanted to just ruin your life, it would be an easy thing for him. Because he would just, especially if you're forecasting your trades or putting your trades online, right? Yeah, he might take some losses doing it, but the goal there is just to wreck you. And to think that somebody is out there doing that to you is just, I mean, that's just, you're talking about paranoid. That's just not healthy. You know what I mean? That's just not good.
Why would he even bother trying to wreck me? I'm doing a great job of it myself.
Exactly. You know, Tommy, you got to, yeah, Tommy has a special stop that everybody can see. It's called the Tommy stop, and people just go get it. They're like, you know what? Give me that stop, Tommy.
You got a smack right there.
Yeah, it did. Well, it trapped a bunch of inventory up on that H high. A bunch of impatient buyers jumped into that long when we got that cessation of one time framing, and you know, big little smackarooski. And then right here we just see short covering. We haven't really seen enough supply to break these lows yet. We do, it's not good volume. Everything's Microsoft's red, Google's red, Facebook, Nvidia, UNH, Walmart, Visa, JP Morgan. Your financials are just getting absolutely.
I don't care about those. I just needed to hit mine.
Right. Where's AMD at? Gas down there.
It's going down. I've got to sell in 5 cents.
Yeah, AMD is actually coming down into the buy zone. This 93 to 85 level. I'm looking at maybe in some for the long term.
Oh, come on. Can't recover that fast.
Stop seeking missiles. Yeah. Exactly as predicted. Yeah, Allstars. You were the one who sent me that video. If the whatever that guy's name is, the first time I seen him, I'm like, every time, really, with this guy? Just a genius. And did you guys see that picture I posted yesterday? I actually posted it for you guys and for myself because I didn't want to lose it when I found it. Um, yeah, here it is. Let's open it. So what's interesting about these Fortune 500 companies by total revenue, uh, this is probably something that you should have in your pocket or to pay attention to because we're not seeing a lot of names on here that we would think, right? We would think number one, Tesla, right? Why not? Tesla's, Elon's the richest person in the world. How come he's not number one? Right. And so as we start going into, I mean, a deeper discussion, or when you start to think about your long-term portfolio, some of those names are probably safer plays if the market starts to take a nosedive and starts to turn down a little bit. Those are going to be the names that you're going to want to remember to be able to put your money in, right? I know Tesla's nice because it has a very high IV, implied volatility, and it can profit a lot, but it can also lose a lot. And when a market is trending down, you're looking for safer plays. And there's actually a new thing that Josh started talking about yesterday. Where's YouTube at? Let me pull up his video and I could screen. He called it the new Fang. I don't know if it came from somewhere else or if it was from him personally, but I'll pull it up here.
And who is Josh? Is this a guy that you just started watching, or you watched him for a while?
I watch him. I watch him
Is he a
pretty
trader or?
pretty often. Yeah, he trades options. So he talked about this yesterday. So the new Fang, because we have the Fang stock: Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, and then they call it Fangman plus T, right? Because Tesla's on there now. But we have fuels, aerospace, defense, agricultural, nuclear, and renewables, and gold and metals. It's kind of the new thing, and this is kind of what seems like where all the money is going right now, into these kind of things. Um, so it's just something to take account of, and you've seen a lot of those names on that list that we shared in the Discord. Josh is a guy that trades options, and he knows a lot about. Yeah, it's in there. It's in the general chat. Like I posted like 4 pictures yesterday. It's the top one. Um, Josh is a guy that trades what's it called? Options. And he has a really good sense for economics, and I like to listen to what he says. Most of the times his videos are about, a little bit of news and then mostly about the plays that he did throughout the day. But he streams, he streams from market open to market close every single day. He just said he trades options. And he's just a good guy. I really like him. I really like his music. I like his philosophy. He's just got good information.
Wouldn't that be crazy if he watches you?
I doubt it. That would be cool though. I doubt it. Oh, did you find it? Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, MM Crypto and Carl to the moon. Yeah.
Did you ask me a question?
No, no, no. All right, guys. Well, it is about 10:30. I've got some yard work that I've been itching to get done all day.
Don't leave us, man. Don't leave us.
I got stuff up to do. I might be back for Power Hour. I mean, I have the Discord on like all day, and so if you have any questions, just post them in the Discord. I'll definitely try to get back to them. Discord is supposed to be coming out with this thing I was reading where you can put like voice messages or something, little clips. But now that I've kind of figured out how to do little clips, I might just like record them and then just post them in the Discord, and then I can just delete them off my computer. That way it doesn't just get clogged up with a bunch of little clips all day. But yeah, today was a great day. Definitely, I appreciate you guys hanging out while I went on a little tangent right there. Because it really, I think it's just such a bad psychology trap to convince yourself that somebody's after you in the market, and the reason that you're not being successful is anybody's fault but your own. I just think that's such a bad trap to be in. And so hopefully after listening today, you're able to think about that, um, from a perspective that I'm not coming at you with the intention of, trying to tell you that that you're just full of shit. Just that the odds of that are just not very high, and that's kind of how I live life, right? With odds, everything is basically an odds. But yeah, make sure that you guys are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. Let's take a peek at the market, see what we can get for the rest of the day. This low looks like it's about ready to go. And remember, this is this W low, this 1650. What do I have? I have 16 quarter marked from this morning, as a level that if we get below, I think that we'll get a bit more short covering or a bit more liquidation, and that could take us down to that 4403, 4400 level. We did see some decent volume from overnight, but I don't really put too much weight on it. So we maybe get some buying here off the settle from yesterday. We did have some people get long as the market closed yesterday as well, which is what could have caused this. Could just be break this up to, you kind of saw it form a little bit of just back and forth until it liquidated, right? People tried to buy it, and then eventually they just. And then to the upside, like I said, I'm not really confident in the market until we get back above at least this open, and really I still don't like it until above the 50. I haven't really been a buyer at all today. I don't really plan on getting long at this area. I think it'd be safer to wait for it to rally and short some of the rallies. But yeah, other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. You say Bitcoin is compressing. Trying to build a little bit of value. I mean, we got to think we've been shorting last couple of days. 8 days down now. Oh, there's 7 days down. We're on our 8th day now. So I like this 39,136 level. It's acted as support before. So until we really start to hold below it, I still like that buying. Another key thing here too. So remember, if when we put in excess on a profile, right, and we're putting this excess below yesterday's value area, we know that F or M period was most likely liquidation from all the people that were trapped. As we get this liquidation or this excess, if we don't get continuation on excess, right, continuation goes into that imbalance. If we don't get that and we trade back into where volume's at, this 26, well, there's good odds that we go fix that or high up at H, right? Because we have a poor high at H, or weak high, not poor high, weak high at H, mechanical off of that level. So there's good odds that we can go up there and fix it. It'd have to get up to the volume first and able to do that. So we're not just buying here saying, oh, poor low or poor weak high, that's where we're going to go up and fix it, because that could happen tomorrow. And if you don't have the margin to hold this position till tomorrow, and it could not happen, it could not happen for a couple of weeks. If you don't have the margin to hold that position, you're just kind of hoping and praying at that point. So if we get excess below that and don't hang out below that 16 quarter, I might try to look for a more risky long around this 27 to fix this HI up here at 36. That would be risk, and that's if we don't hang out down here very long, put in just decent excess and trade back into value. The March POC. I don't know if that's the March POC, to be honest with you. This is a level we've had on the chart for a long time. I've had this on my chart and I've been buying off of it for a while now. I don't know if it's the March point of control. I don't really look at those things. Like I when I'm looking at a monthly chart, my monthly chart looks like this. It looks like this. Well, it's a daily, but monthly it's looking like this. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's the or not. But yeah, you guys have a wonderful day. I will be around if you guys need anything. Getting below that 16 quarter here now. A little bit more of a Makaruski. Yeah, that rollback on that nickel trade all stars is bullshit, to be honest. That's just them kind of that's just them manipulating the system for their own personal reasons, and there's just nothing that we just blame England because that's who's doing it. Here comes that. So just watch this 16 quarter. If we get back above that 16 quarter and you start to see some volume start to come in, I mean, the volume is so light right now. My internet's starting to get slow as fuck. My internet's trying to tell me to, yeah, the market's.
Yeah, price is at 44.14.
As you said.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my computer just telling me, all right, go ahead, you're done.
Thanks for everything today, Brad.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for everyone for sharing, and
you rock, man.
hopefully we have things like this every day. It makes it a lot more interesting. But yeah, since my computer is telling me to, what's that?
I was saying, I don't know how to handle the emotional roller coaster every day, though.
Yes.
Is the market on Friday?
Close this Friday, yeah. It'll probably close. I think it's at 9:30 Eastern time on Friday. It'll close up.
Okay, cool.
All right, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in the Discord.
Peace.